I was saying that we have 3.5 interesting hours ahead of ourselves with topics of national and international interest. Most of the event will be conducted in English, but the last part, the 30 to 45 minutes from it, will be discussed only in Romanian because they are aimed at the Romanian community. Due to the fact that the event was published by the International Federation on the World Obstacle website, we chose to switch from a private broadcast to a public broadcast so that the information will be available to the entire obstacle sports community. And as a matter of fact, why not to the general public? Before introducing our speakers, I would like to congratulate the World Obstacle team, especially Michel Coutet, and Ian Adamson for achieving GAIS observer status, which is one of the most important milestones that we reached in the history of this young sport that we're trying to develop. For those of you who are not familiar with GAIS, GAIS is an abbreviation from Global Association of Obstacle Sports Federations, and it's the highest level of recognition reachable by an international sporting federation before getting recognized by the IOC. So great job, Team World Obstacle. The list of speakers from today's conference is nothing less than impressive, with people connecting from 4 continents and 10 cities at the same time. So it's a big thank you for everyone, and it was a huge effort. So thank you again. We will have high caliber speakers. We will have the European Obstacle Sports Federation president, the Filipinas Obstacle Sports president, a deputy commander of a multinational Southeast Corp of NATO. And we will talk about safeguarding sports, about certified obstacles. We will talk about the organization of ninja competitions, adventure racing competitions, and the delivery of World Obstacle coaching and officials program. We will now pass on and get to our first guest. We hope that the connection will be stable, and without any delay, I'm going to introduce you to my colleague and president of the European Obstacle Sports Federation, Mr. Stefano Zappa. Hi, Stefano.
Hello, Raul. Good afternoon to you, good morning, and good evening to anyone else in different time zones. Thank you for having me.
Of course, it's a discussion that I'm usually having at least once a month with Stefano. We do meet a lot because, as I said before, we are colleagues, so we are trying to work on a new project for the European obstacle sports community. We are doing this since the beginning of this year, and I'm going to let Stefano say a few words, then we are going to get back and have a short dialogue together on this subject. Is it okay if we do it this way, Stefano?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, please tell them what we're working on.
Hello again, everyone. As Raul said, I am the current president of the European OCR Federation. European Federation was born in 2017, and this is the third board that we are having. The first one led by Philip from Ireland, the second by Molin from Sweden. We have been elected back in February. Before being elected to this seat, I started my journey in OCR world in 2015 as an amateur athlete. Then I started marshalling, then training, then racing in competitive waves. Now I have been called to this challenge, and I am really lucky in having people as Raul and many other people besides me helping in this challenge. As said before, we were elected back in February 2021, right in the middle of the COVID pandemic. So the first thing we had to do was assessing the current situation of Europe. We found a Europe that was not healthy as it used to be. We were used to have, even before the pandemic, a great difference in European nations, speaking of level of development for OCR. This difference, unfortunately, became even deeper with the whole COVID situation. So there are nations with full-fledged federations that face the difficulties in the emergency, but are still they maintain their strength. There are nations that face much more difficulties and are struggling to get back in shape. There are other nations which were beginning of thinking of associating, and they unfortunately have been stopped in their tracks. So the first and most important objective of European Federation is to help developing the OCR community in all of European nations, small, big. We need to help who is struggling, and to do so, we will need the help of the bigger nations, of course. Our main objective is to bring everyone on a common ground where there will be no difference between big and small nations, but where all the people, all the community in all the countries will have the same level of access to the OCR races and training facilities and online or in-person courses. We basically have to rebuild Europe as it used to be and to rebuild the European Obstacle Sports Federation. All the committee and commission we had have been shut down. They were already shut down before we got elected. New ones will have to be nominated, elected, built. As starters, we are currently building a development committee that will be led by Raul himself, and that and the purpose of this committee, the first purpose, would to bring out ideas how to develop OCR in Europe. We have already people joining this committee by Romania, Hungary, Italy, Germany, UK. We are, of course, looking for more. We can use all the help that might be found. So if anyone listening is willing to help or suggest someone that might be willing to help, is more than welcome to do so. Hopefully by the middle or end of November, this committee will have its first online meeting, and we are hoping to have also an in-person meeting by the end of April next year, perhaps in pair with some kind of event. We do hope we are almost out of the emergency, and then from starting of 2022, everything will be much more quieter and people much more secure in their traveling. So the objective of European Championship, as I said, is to get a common ground, to get athletes and trainers and marshals and all the national federations on some common guidelines. We will work on, we are already working on common rankings, European rankings for competitive athletes that will go merging with the other continental rankings and global rankings. We, of course, are working on a unified set of rules. OCR races have two souls, basically. One for people who just like to enjoy the race, play around with obstacles, race with their friends. And the others all made from people who wants to compete against others. We have to work on both these faces of the coin. In particular, what we have to bring in, what we have to offer as common ground for every national federation are set of rules, set of standards that might be used in races, in training facilities. And this has already been started in 2021. Several nations in Europe already started working on the standards offered by the international federations. Some nations, sorry, my phone. So some nations already started to experimenting. We got good feedback, bad feedback so far. We will keep on testing. This is everything. This is all for the scope of building an OCR community worldwide, which will have the same level of preparation for athletes, marshals, and trainers. Speaking of the rules, the reason why many nations in Europe this year started experimenting with the international rules proposed by FISO is because next year we'll finally have the OCR European Championship and probably the World Championship in Italy and Russia. And these international events will use the international rules proposed by the International Federation. So this is why many nations in the Europe already started experimenting. These rules will be used in 2022, in 2023. The country host of European Championship in 2023 has already been chosen. It's not public yet, but we already spoke with the organizers and they are willing to keep on adopting this new set of rules. So, in conclusion, there is a lot to do. The nations in Europe are on very different levels of preparation. Some of them, like in Northern Europe, for example, are much more advanced than Southern Europe. We need to bring everything on the same place, on the same floor. This is our main objective. This will be achieved. We will take probably next 1 to 2 years to see something solid to be called an achievement, but we will get there. Raul, if you want to get back with me.
Yes, thank you, Stefano, for the high level of details that you gave our viewers. We did discuss this aspect of rules with Stefano and our other colleagues more than once, and now it's the perfect time. Now that we are as a sport evaluated by guys, to understand that we have to agree on a single set of rules for the sport. It is the single chance that the sport has to evolve. We cannot, when we're talking, of course, of the professional side of the sport, we can not have more than one regulation. So, as Stefano pointed out, we will have two segments developing because obstacle sports are of course fun as well. So we don't want to take out the fun of it, the fun part out of it. So we are going to keep the amateur race segment of racing, but of course we're trying to aim to qualify as an Olympic sport until 2028. So We have to start aligning because these alignments take time, and the 2022 European and world level championships have to already be using this set of rules. Ian Adamson, the president of World Obstacle, mentioned more than once that we have to provide officials for the world level event, and this means that we also have to start working on the coaching programs. We will have someone later on talking about this exact aspect, our colleague Naive. So this is the time that people have to understand that, of course, we must work as one and accept that every sport has a set of rules that must be followed. We are working as a team with Stefano to establish our rules for obstacle sports, and I am sure that people will understand this aspect. As for the committee that Stefano mentioned, I would like to point out that there are a lot of people inside the European community that can do and help a lot for the development of obstacle sports. We had people contacting us from different countries saying that they would like to help. They are people with great initiative, with good ideas. A very good example is here is someone from Germany that I met after the World Conference that we had from World Obstacle. It's Mark's son from the German Okra, and I believe that Mark will be a great person for this development committee. He is already named alongside with James Burton from the UK, and we will have others as well. We have people from a lot of European organizations that are clearly able to help the sport develop. We did have a lot of difficulties in these 2 years in keeping the organizations active because everyone had financial difficulties. This doesn't mean just obstacle sports, of course. It means every sport in general. What happened during these last 2 years, it's without precedent. We saw what happened also at the Olympics. This is something that was never never done before. So unfortunately, it was a bit of bad luck for us because this happened exactly when we took over the European Federation. But maybe we have to look at it as a challenge. We did get past these 2 years. If we manage to get past these 2 years, from now on, I believe it's going to be much easier.
I agree. Let's hope so. I do hope nothing else happened.
Yes, let's hope that this COVID situation will not bounce back once again, and it leaves us alone for as for preparations for the European Championships from Italy, which are in a splendid region. Can you tell us a few words, please, about this, Stefano?
Yeah, sure. European Championships will be in Trentino Alto Adige in Italy on the Dolomiti Mountains. If anyone has already been in that zone, is where Spartan Alleghe has been raced. It was the European Championship a couple of years back. It's not the same place, but it's the same mountains. It's a very, very beautiful location, and it is actually in the Olympic Village for a previous edition of Winter Olympics. So it has everything it needs to host the event and welcome more than 300 people. So we hope to see more than 300 people. As usual, there will be a standard race, a short race, 100-meter team race events from Thursday to Sunday, when it will all be concluded with the open race. The race for fun, as we were saying before. There will be time for competing, and then there will be time for enjoying. So please Do not be afraid anymore of traveling. This time, European Championship will be there. It will, the event will be held.
Yes, thank you, Stefano, for these details about the EC. I have to admit that the European Championship from Poland 2019 was the moment when things clicked for me as for obstacle sports. I was there with Ian and Klaus, and I was trying to get as much information as possible from them. They were really kind and they did help a lot. But also, I was looking at teams. I was looking at athletes. I was looking at the atmosphere from the event, and it was incredibly impressive. I did go and participate at a lot of races, but the atmosphere from the European Championship was totally different. The way in which teams cheered for each other was simply amazing. I saw Sweden, I saw Italy with a huge team, by the way. Italy, one of the biggest teams as I saw. I saw Denmark with an incredibly impressive team. I saw a lot of other nations. Russia very strong, of course, and of course I did get a chance to speak from with a few athletes from the Hungarian team as well, and it was something that I felt that I had to bring to Romania as well. It's something that they have to experience. They have to be there so that they understand that this is a whole different level of sports when it comes to obstacle racing. So I am sure that we will be able to organize things in such a way that we will be present, and of course other countries as well will be present at the event from Italy, and it cannot be uh, it cannot be anything less than spectacular. They will see that it's something different. From my point of view, I believe that we touched most points that we aimed to do so. So if we have questions from the um, people watching us, now would be the perfect time to hear them. Let me just check if we do have any.
Sure.
So I see that the probably the speech was a bit too technical, and we don't have questions for now. But we have probably a even more technical speech coming up, because now that we are almost done, we have someone coming up from, as I like to call it, the most advanced federation of obstacle sports from the entire World Obstacle Confederation. So thank you, Stefano, for the details that you gave us, and we hope to have you in next year's conference as well. Thank you.
Sure. That
Thank
will
you
be
for
my
joining.
pleasure. Thank you for having. Have a nice rest of the meeting.
Thank you. Okay, so this was really a really great moment. If we don't think about that network problem that I had at the beginning, so we did get past it. We're live again, and we can keep keep doing what we are here to do today. We're going to move on now to our next guest, and uh, this is probably the single person that I know that has a curriculum with 24 pages. We did do a research on him when we thought about inviting him in the conference, and it was astonishing to see a 24-page curriculum. So we have now a person that is a professor of law. He's a lecturer. He's an author, a former government official, and the president of the Obstacle Sports Federation of Asia Pacific, and of course the president of the Filipinas Obstacle Sports Federation. We have Mr. Alberto Agra. Hi, Alberto.
Hi, Raul. How are you? And thank you for inviting me.
I'm fine, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here. It's something that I was plotting to do so for a very long time, and I'm really glad that we are having this discussion right now. You have a lot of valuable information that people need to hear. Now I'm talking about European level organizations because as presented, the level of information that will be delivered inside this conference will not be aimed only at the Romanian community. It's information that is applicable to all the organizations from Europe and not only Europe, of course, that are within the World Obstacle Configuration. So I do thank you, and I'm going to let you coordinate the presentation. Now I give the floor to you, to so to say, and please explain to us what you did in the Philippines so that you reached the level of development that you are at now. Because we, of course, all would like to be at the same level in as short as possible period of time.
Yes. Again, thank you, Raul, for that recognition. And again, thank you for allowing me to be part of the journey of OCR Romania and, of course, the European Obstacle Sports Federation. So, before I start my presentation, let me start with a word which I learned during in this pandemic. The word is advertunity. It's actually a combination of two words, um, adversity and opportunity. I'm a firm believer that we can all conquer obstacles because we are in obstacle sports, and we can conquer these obstacles or conquer and harness these adversities and convert them into opportunities. I think even during this pandemic, our federation was able to thrive during the pandemic. So maybe we can start with my presentation. Um, it will be a series of logos and a video and some posters. So again, I'm Al Agra. I'm the president of the Pilipinas Obstacle Sports Federation. Here are our two logos, and POSF, or Pilipinas Obstacle Sports Federation, is the sole governing body in the Philippines insofar as obstacle sports is concerned. Our federation is fairly young. We will celebrate our fifth year from the founding of the federation this coming January. So we are almost 5 years of age. Next slide. And the year after we were organized in 2017, we were already recognized by the National Olympic Committee here in the Philippines. So that is the Philippine Olympic Committee. And just this year, we were also recognized by the National Paralympic Committee here in the Philippines, the Philippine Paralympic Committee. Aside from being recognized by the NOC and the NPC, we are also recognized by government through the Philippine Sports Commission. And here in the Philippines, POSF is a non-stock corporation, a non-profit corporation registered with our Securities and Exchange Commission. Next slide. And our federation is a member of FISO. Our federation is a member of the International Federation of World Obstacle. We are also a part of the Continental Federation, the Obstacle Sports Federation Asia Pacific, which I currently head. And just this year, we formed for Asia Pacific three subcontinental federations. The POSF belongs to the Southeast Asia Federation. We have the West Asia and Central Asia Subcontinental Federation. And we also have the East Asia, South Asia, and the Pacific um, Subcontinental Federation. Um, POSF is affiliated with two international federations for obstacle course racing, for ninja, and adventure racing. We belong to World Obstacle, but for parkour, one of for one of the disciplines we promote in the Philippines. For parkour, we are a member of the International Parkour Federation. Next slide. As mentioned earlier by Raul and also by Stefano, uh, this is one major milestone which our international federation has achieved. We are now a recognized sport, although we are just an observer at this point, of the Global Association of International Sports Federation. But even prior to this recognition as a sport by GAIF, and hopefully soon by the International Olympic Committee, our sport has been recognized by the Southeast Asian Games Federation, which is part of the Olympic Council of Asia and the International Olympic Committee. In 2019, for the very first time in obstacle sports history, obstacle sports, obstacle course racing, and ninja were recognized as a medal sport in the 2019 Southeast Asian Games. So this is actually another milestone of not just the Philippine Federation, but and the Asia Pacific Federation, but more importantly, the World Obstacle. So again, we are now a recognized sport at the world level. And in 2019, we were a recognized sport by the Southeast Asian Games Federation for Southeast Asia, which is composed of 11 countries. Next slide. And just this year, again, we had our national teams, which competed in the 2019 Southeast Asian Games. But just this year, after a series of qualifying events, 2 qualifying events per category, we now formed 5 national teams, namely Ninja. And for OCR, we have 2 subcategories, OCR Long, 21 kilometers and over, and we have OCR Short. We also have a national team for adventure racing. We had 2 adventure racing events this year. We also have a national team for parkour. We also had 2 parkour qualifying events. And by the way, right now, we are also participating in the Asia Junior Championships in parkour. We're about to form our national team for our para obstacle sports athletes, but we are just finalizing the categories of our para athletes. So right now, we have 5 formed national teams. We also have 5 developmental pools for each of these national teams. And this is one of the things that I advocate, and hopefully even the European federations will follow. I advocate that the national athletes, together with the national federations, will enter into an athletes agreement. So all of our national athletes for Ninja, OCR Long, OCR Short, Adventure Racing, and Parkour, together with POSF, we've already executed our athletes agreement. Why is it important for us to form these national teams? 1, for recognition. 2, they are given allowances by government. And 3, the members of the national team have competed and will compete in international events that will be sponsored by the Pilipinas Obstacle Sports Federation. Last July, we sent 3 athletes to the UNAA, and Bob Clark will be one of your guests. We sent 3 athletes to the UNAA event in Las Vegas. Last September, we sent 6 athletes to the first ever world's highest OCR in Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. This coming December, we will send a contingent of 11 athletes to the Spartan World's Beast Championship in Abu Dhabi. As we speak, we're already preparing our 2022 calendar, both for local events and international events. The first ever Altitude OCR series will be held in the Philippines this coming March. And of course, we will be participating in all the events that will be recognized by World Obstacle. Next slide, please. And humility aside, during the Southeast Asian Games in 2019, out of the 6 events, the 100 meters, the 400 meters team event, and the 5K OCR, out of the 6 events, uh, all the 6 gold medals were Filipinos were the ones who got those medals. And in the recently concluded world's highest OCR in Tanzania, the first and second placers for male and female came from the Philippines, representing the OCR long category or national team of the Philippines. Next slide, please. And of course, one of the pillars of the Pilipinas Obstacle Sports Federation would be its coaches. We have our national coaches. Right now, we chose 5 elite female coaches who will go through a 3-year development program. Hopefully, all of them will become national coaches 2 years or on the 3rd year. And just this year, we completed the first ever online coaches certification program of World Obstacle. So 50 coaches graduated in this first ever online program by World Obstacle. And these coaches are elite coaches, and they also coach all levels, including recreational obstacle sports athletes. Next slide, please. And part of our grassroots development, of course, will be our youth. We have our POSF youth, comprising of around 20 young athletes. We have our Rockstar program. We have a special program for kids with physical disability, youth with intellectual disability, kids with HIV, abandoned and abused children. So we have this Rockstar program for them. We have also identified 20 teenagers who will go through a 7-year program. And just a couple of hours before this conference, there were 21 physical education teachers who graduated from our online program, and they will be introducing obstacle sports to 13 schools all over the country. So we've already approved the syllabus for grade school, high school, and college. And these 21 physical education teachers, again, will implement this program in 13 schools. Next slide. Of course, we will not be able to thrive for the past couple of years without the facilities. Right now, we have 20 obstacle sports facilities in the Philippines. And hopefully, before the year ends, we will have 10 more. These are permanent facilities, but most of these facilities have what we call the obstacle in a box. The obstacle in a box contains 8 obstacles with 4 exercise stations in a 10 feet by 10 feet by 10 feet box. Let us now play the video showing this box. And we have So again, you saw two boxes, one for the adult box. This is 12 in 1, 8 obstacles with 4 exercise stations. And you also saw our kids box, which has 12 obstacles and 4 exercise stations. Again, all of these were fitted in a 10 feet by 10 feet by 10 feet truss. We have these obstacles inside malls, inside schools, soon inside military camps, plazas of local government units. So this is part of our obstacle sports for all everywhere initiative. So just to highlight, we have 4 key sectors for POSF. We have the able-bodied, we have the seniors and masters, we have the para athletes, and lastly, we have the youth. Next slide, please. Recently, we launched Project 7. Why 7? Because we are hoping and praying that hopefully in 7 years from now, with a GIF recognition, hopefully we will be part of the biggest multi-sport event, which is the Olympics in 2028. So we already launched this project and we are preparing for 2028. Next slide, please. And POSF is a structured organization. We have our executive board and we have a lot of committees. We have our athletes committee, we have our women's commission, we have a diversity and inclusivity committee. We have a safe sport committee, and part of your program will be about safe sport. Recently, we created our spiritual and mental health committee. So again, we have our athletes commission, which is very important. So the work of the federation is devolved to these committees and commissions. Next slide, please. And more importantly, our federation is guided by our core values. For us, we believe that the real and core meaning of Olympism is not the Olympic Games, but the real meaning is building better humans and building active communities. Ian Adamson, the president of World Obstacle, we've coined this term Olympist, because for those who believe in Olympism, we call ourselves Olympists. Another core value of the federation is promoting the sport everywhere in the country for everyone, regardless of age, regardless of gender orientation, regardless of ability. And lastly, we believe that one of the things that why we are thriving, because we consider all the members of the federation as part of one family. Next slide, please, which is my last. In sum, the Pilipinas Obstacle Sports Federation is recognized by the National Olympic Committee, by the National Paralympic Committee, and by government. We have our core values. We value our athletes. We'd like them to perform and to excel. Of course, the coaches are very important pillars of this performance. We have a organized structure. We have facilities, and lastly, we have a very strong youth program. So that ends my my presentation, and I hope you learn from what we're going through as a national federation, and whatever I can do to help others, to educate others, just let me know, and I'm here to be part of your journey.
Impressive as usual. Impressive as usual. I have to say it twice.
Thank you, Raul.
It's great to see the functioning model. So this is the functioning model. We have a model. We just have to apply it. It's that simple. We will have a question, but I will ask it a bit later on. I would like to point out how nicely you integrated the para part of the sport within the OCR. And I
Yes.
did watch a lot of videos, a lot of activity dedicated to this part. And this is something that we are also trying to approach. We also had an event this year, this month at the beginning of the month. I don't know, Alberto, if you heard about the Invictus Games.
Sorry, I
Invictus
didn't
Games.
hear about that. Yeah.
It's a pretty big competition dedicated to persons that have disabilities. So, and it's usually people within the army, people that had suffered injuries and are within the armed forces. We did get an invitation at an event from this year, from this month's schedule. We were invited in a military base where they presented a obstacle track for the development of obstacle sports. It's called a Derby Queen standard track. It's used usually in the military part of physical training, physical and mental training, of course, because it's a pretty tough course. And we did a really nice program with athletes from the Invictus program. I was also really impressed to see how well they did, how big of a motivation these people are to all of us, and it's clearly an aspect that we have to work on in Romania, because they did signal it that they are neglected, and it's clearly uh, something that the Paralympic side of the sport has to address in a more serious way. They need support because they are as able as all of us, and they can do all the things that regular athletes do. So we have to give them a chance just to prove it. We also have an athlete that I want to mention. It is a I hope to be able to say that he's a friend of mine. His name is Zsolt Keresztes. He's of Hungarian nationality. He was stolen, so to say, by a new sport from Hungary. It's called tag ball. I don't know if you heard about it. Tag ball. It's a
No, I
sport that
didn't.
in 2 years, it's something almost as amazing as obstacle sports. They did progress in 2 years uh, to a level in which they already got recognized in 2 years. So unfortunately, they took him away from the obstacle sports configuration. He is still racing, but of course now he has dedicated his time more to the tag ball segment. He is a really impressive athlete as well. So we need to find more of these people that are here to motivate us. And this is clearly one of our priorities. We need to insist on para sport. We need to insist also on the youth segment. And this is a subject that I saw in the video that is clearly also really well developed in the Philippines. And we are at the moment in discussions with James from the UK, James Burton. I found out from James that they do have a youth program in development already. So we will try to work together on the European level, because James will be in the development committee, and this will not be a task that I aim to develop only at the Romanian for the Romanian community. So this will be a task that we plan to get at a higher level throughout the entire European community. People don't know that much about the SEA Games. It was just briefly mentioned, but the SEA Games, it's an incredibly impressive event with a lot of sports and disciplines. Can you please tell us a few more words about it?
The Southeast Asian Games, Raul?
Yes, just a few more words, because people don't
Yes.
know how many sports there are there.
Okay. In the 2019 Southeast Asian Games, there were 56 events, and
Okay.
and one was obstacle sports. And for obstacle sports, we had Ninja 100 meters, and we had 400 meters for a team event, and we have a 5K OCR event. So for Southeast Asia, there are 11 countries. So it's every 2 years, but unfortunately, we will not be part of the next Southeast Asian Games in Vietnam because the sport is not that popular in the host country. But right now, we're already working at hopefully being included in 2023 Cambodia Southeast Asian Games. Hopefully, we will be part of the Asian Games also. And we're also hoping that we will be part of the Asian Beach Games. So and by next year, we will be having our third Asian Championships in Malaysia. So again, we have a full calendar next year, Raul. Just on the para, just on the para. So we right now the World Obstacle is finalizing the categories for para. It's basically P1 now is wheelchair. P2 and P5 would be uh, difficulty in mobility, such as amputees. And P5 would be those athletes with visual impairment. So next, all our events have para categories, uh, and the box you saw there also used by para. By the way, the box that I showed earlier is not just for workout; it's also for competitions. We have conducted a ninja competition using the box, and an OCR, a 5K competition using the box. So you do an obstacle, then you run for 200 meters, then you go back to the box, do another obstacle. So they did that for a 5K race.
Yes, we have to mention that these obstacles are acquirable. So if anyone is listening in on us right now and they believe that they can put one to work in a country, they should
Yes.
contact Al. We of course can provide the contact details if they cannot contact him directly. It's something that is of great value. We saw the offer, and it's something that uh, has to clearly be a great option when it comes to training and competitions. We do have a question posed by someone,
Sure.
and this is about the last minute that we have. Someone asked if we did get in contact with someone from the parkour side, from the Parkour Society from Romania, because we do have parkour listed as a sport that we are trying to develop in Romania. And the answer is, of course, yes, because we wouldn't do anything without the community. We contacted Christian Glovaski and Andrei Tompa. We did speak with them more than one time, and we agreed that we will develop events together. We will allow for the communities to meet, to have a common project, so that we can see how these disciplines will work together. Because I see a huge potential in the combining of disciplines when it comes to bypassing obstacles. The parkour technique is of great value when it comes to vision. So I believe that we have a lot of learn to from each other. So yeah, the answer is clearly yes. We did contact them. From my point of
Raul,
view,
Raul,
yes, please.
uh, Raul, if I may add, for our national athletes, some of our ninja national athletes are also parkour national athletes. Some of our OCR national athletes are also adventure racing national athletes. So depends on whether they qualified during the qualifying events. So it really depends on the skill.
Exactly. So this is a clear example that the sports do work together, and in a really nice way. And now that you mentioned adventure racing, we're going to have a next guest that is going to speak exactly on this subject, the subject of adventure racing. We will have Arancha Alamo, our next guest. That is I believe she already joined us, and she will be on the screen shortly. Alberto, here she is. Okay, hi Rancha.
Yeah.
Hi Rancha.
Hi, good morning.
Okay, okay. Just gonna say goodbye to Alberto. If the colleagues from backstage could put a 3-screen option, would be perfect. Let's see if they can manage that so that we are all 3 on screen.
But
Yeah. Oh, okay. Perfect. Here we go. But I have Rancha in both. In both.
Double.
Yes. Now we are
yeah,
perfect. Okay. So
yes.
I would like to pass to adventure racing and thank you for letting us know how an obstacle sports federation should work. I really appreciate you taking the time off because I know how many projects you are involved in, Al, and I really hope to have you in another year as a speaker. Thank you a lot.
Thank you again, Raul. And just a footnote on the part of the Federation on Adventure Racing. We had 2 adventure races this year, and we will have 2 again next year as part of the World Series, which is being organized by World Obstacle, our international federation. Again, on behalf of the Pilipinas Obstacle Sports Federation, thank you for giving us the opportunity to be part of everybody's journey. Thank you and good day. And good luck. And keep safe.
Thank you. Also.
Thank you.
Okay, we are moving on to our next guest, who is Arancha Alamo, the global development coordinator for adventure racing from World Obstacle, also known as FISO. Hi, Arancha. It's a pleasure to have
Hi.
you on the broadcast. We did plan to contact you along since a couple of months now, and I did cover this aspect with you. I was really hoping to have you in person in Romania to speak at the event, but we had this whole COVID situation coming up, and we did have
Yeah.
to switch to online, something that people unfortunately do a lot these days. So
Exactly.
you are connected right now, and that's what's important to make the Romanian community get a glimpse of what the potential of adventure racing is, because I'd like to call it the cherry on top of obstacle sports.
Yeah.
It's the best side of it. It's the most difficult side, of course, and Ian clearly knows about this because he has a incredibly big curriculum from this point of view, and
Yeah.
we also have a few races listening in on this discussion today, because we did contact them, and we did tell them that you are going to come on the show and on the broadcast, and we will speak about what we will try to build in Romania. But of course, we would also like you to explain what adventure racing is and what the value of adventure racing is when it comes to uh, relationships, not only in sports but maybe even in companies, because there is a connection that I believe you are usually making in your speeches. So without further delay, I'm going to let you get on with the presentation, and then
Yeah.
I'm going to switch
Thank you.
back to the screen.
Well, thank you very much, Raul, for the invitation. And thank you all of you for being here and listening, giving us the space for talk about the adventure races. I first would like to introduce myself. I just want to make clear that I am not a adventure racer runner, but besides that, I did a few races, but I most organize adventure races in South America. Let me spend 1 minute just to tell you how I got in love for the adventure races. And everything started 12 years ago when a good friend of mine, she told me that she will be running a race in Brazil, the EcoMotion. And she asked me, hey, why don't you come here and help us the team because it is my first race, etc. So I went there for 10 days, and I was working at that time for the biggest sport industry or company in the world. And I had only in my mind that the sports were football and running. And when I saw that, I said, what is this? And I really impressed about what adventure races was. And I said, I want to be linked to this. And I want to bring visibility of this sport because I really believe that it's one of the toughest sports in the world and nobody knows it. So that's how I started, and I started connecting with South America because I live half of my life in South America in many countries and half of my life here in Europe, where I'm living in Netherlands. And I said, well, I really want to support this sport and start working on how can I bring visibility. So I started a few years ago supporting in Uruguay the Association of Adventure Races, and I'm part of the board team. And 1 year ago, I started collaborating with Ian Adamson on the big journey of adventure races, being part of the obstacles sports, and I'm supporting him for EMEA. So yeah, that's my story with adventure races, and I have prepared a few slides just to share with you what are the values that I see on the adventure races and what make us the adventure races unique. So let's move to the next slide, please. So of course I've been working for the sport industry for more than 10 years, and I always like to compare or to highlight what are the values that I really find in this sport. And I will highlight 6 of them. The first one is equality, and it's an incredible sport in which men and women compete together in the same conditions. And if we analyze the rest of the sports, is one of the unique things, one of the unique sports that really plays at this level, because we always compete separately. And so that's, I think, is something very, very unique. And it's not a trend. It's not because right now, it's all the companies are trying to move on this direction. It has been forever, since the beginning. So that's something very special. Secondly, is about inclusivity and diversity. Here in this sport, it's a team, and the team compete no matter your age, no matter your gender, your color, your nationality. So it's really, really amazing that you can see in the same team people of 20 years with competing together with somebody of 60. So it's great and fantastic. Also, sustainability. At the end, if you go to any of these races, you will see how important is the respect the planet. And there are races in which we really push forward for no single plastic use during the race. So it's something that is, of course, one of our important value for any race. Then is also supporting the local communities. At the end, the adventure races is located in the middle of the environment or the towns, and we always have one of the steps of these races. We always bring something to the community where we play in that place. So that's very, very special. And of course, the team spirit. No, at the end, it's a sport in which you play with your team, and the values and the momentums that you share with your team is super, super important. And last but not least is resilience. I always say that for me is one of the toughest sports in the world. Of course, there are races, adventure races of 24 hours, but there are others of 7 days. And it's a long sport that it requires a huge spirit of resilience. So let's move to the next one. And thinking on the movement to the Olympic Games, that in some momentums or previous seasons we talk about this, I really see that aside or adding to all the values that I really see in this sport, it also brings something new for the Olympic journey, which is navigation or orienting. It's a new discipline that they don't have it currently. of course, some kind of extra emotions, because at the end it's a very tough sport and most of the people doesn't know it. And once that talking with their friends and family, once as long as they started knowing a little bit about the adventure races, they really scared of, wow, how somebody can really make it happen. And then last of, and not least is the it shows the beauty of the country host. And this is something special because most of the sport that happen in any Olympic game is always, in stadiums, on the court. So you don't really appreciate the beauty of the country, and adventure races can bring you this as something new. Let's move to the next one. And of course, being 20 years, working for global multinationals and the last 12 years in a sport industry, I always like to share with my teams or with my colleagues what are the synergies that the adventure races has on the business world. And I always say that, of course, is organization, which is planning. At the end, and a race, you prepare many months in advance. You have to prepare your training, you have to prepare your materials, your strategy. So there is a lot of planning and organization behind of it. Secondly is communication. It's super important that the team has a strong communication between them. The races are it takes 5, 6 days, 7, and it's very important to share how you feel during the race, in any stage of the race. If you are down, if you need extra support from your team, etc. So that piece of communication is critical. Of course, responsibility, and it's not only because of you, it's because if you don't play, if you don't train at the level that you need to train, etc., the impact is with your team. It's not only you, it's about your team. Of course, it's self-control, because at the end it's a non-stop race for 7 days. So when you don't sleep after 24 hours, your brain start, playing a negative impact on you. So it's really, really important, the self-control, something that, of course, we always manage in the business world when we have to face a strong negotiation or a challenge in our business days. And then trust. Trust is so important, because you need to trust on your captain. You need to trust on your colleague that is very clear that the orienting he said that, or she said that is that direction, or okay, the full team has to trust. And then integrity, no? So these are the values that, of course, we see in our daily work, in our business days, and it's something that will really strong, and we really learn in any adventure races. So let's move to the next one and the last one. So that's why I really see that the adventure races is something unique for the international sport recognition, and of course for the Olympic journey, and it's really a disruption and something unique. And that's it. That was my message to all of you.
Great, great set of information, Arantxa. Thank you for the presentation. You did say something at the beginning of the presentation. You said that you felt that you wanted to be connected to the sport when you got in contact with it. I believe that this is a feeling that most people have, that when they come in contact with obstacle sports in general, not just adventure racing, it has this magnet, this feeling that draws you in and wants you to be in contact with it. If you are or on a racer level or on an organizer level, it doesn't matter, but it has something special. So just like you, I also did sense this. And my moment was like I described before when I was talking to Stefano at the European Championships. Even if that was not adventure racing, it was still obstacle racing. So it is something great. The other thing is that you said that adventure racing shows the beauty of the country where the competition is organized. Also, really, really great remark, because there are a lot of incredible places that that are on this planet, and we are, of course, proud of our country, and we do have a lot of beautiful places that can be shown, and we believe that there are at least 10, 15 locations in which adventure races could be organized. And as I was mentioning at the start of the discussion, we already have organizers, private organizers, that are managing this, and we hope that we can set a communication, establish communication with them, and try to collaborate on from this point of view, so that we can
Yes,
go on and why not participate in the Adventure Racing World Series, because it's a great opportunity to tie things together, having a great experience with seeing something beautiful, and if you want to do it at a more serious level, of course, go at the Adventure Racing World Series.
exactly. Totally agree. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would love to go to Romania, eh? It's on the
We
bucket
hope to
list.
Yes, we hope to be able to do this next year without online, and maybe we will meet in person. I have another thing that I remembered when you was saying we were making your presentation. One of our athletes, a young uh, person named Alex Makria, uh, told me that he is now racing in Ninja, but he is also doing adventure races. So he
Hmm.
did tell me that one of the last past years he got cut off. I believe it was something like 10 minutes before the cutoff time. So they didn't finish. They got in 10 minutes after. So how frustrating is that? And that should be probably the answer that almost everyone gives you. But he said, no, this is something that clearly will ambition me to do better next year. So it's a discipline that builds character, and it makes
Exactly.
you have a good attitude, not give up, and it's applicable not just in sports, of course. It's
Yes,
a it toughens the mentality of the person doing it.
totally. Totally agree. And sometimes most of the teams understand that the cats is also for security. Of being such a tough race, the organization always have to look for the security of the athletes. And sometimes, most of the times, the cut is because, hey, if you don't get here to at this time, maybe the rafting or the kayak or the climbing is during the night, where you put your body and your life on risk. So that's the fair game, and it's incredible how the athletes really understand, and as you said, self control, no, and say yes, that's fair game. I will do it better next year.
Exactly, exactly. I don't. I'm getting signaled from backstage that we do not have questions at the moment. So I thank you for making the presentation,
Perfect.
and I'm really glad that we managed to bring this together and have a first occasion in which we approach the subject of adventure racing in Romania. Thank you for being
Mm.
here, Ransha.
Thank you. A pleasure. See you. Take care.
Right. Okay, that was a good experience. We did get information from a new sport that we are aiming to develop in Romania. We were one of the first nations that are trying to make these sports work together. Al from the Philippines, Alberto from the Philippines, did manage to do this already. We are probably the first nation from Europe that is trying to achieve this, and we of course have the support of Al and Ian Adamson from World Obstacle, and uh, we have the information necessary to make the sport grow in Romania. And if there are any other organizers that are active from this point of view in the segment of adventure racing, I encourage them that I encourage them to contact us after we finish the show. Now we are moving on to our next guest, and we will talk about something that has to be structured, and that means when I say this, I think about races. We need to have these races. Uh, it doesn't matter if we talk about adventure racing or ninja races or OCR races or whatever, but they have to be organized in a way or another. So we need an application for this aspect, and we have the perfect application from my point of view, developed by someone who does races and understands them, and does this since quite some years now. We have Russ connecting from the United States. Welcome, Russ.
Thank you, Raul. How are you today?
Fine, thanks.
Can you hear
It's
me?
a pleasure to
Good.
have you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And thank you for finding such a good picture of me down on next to my name. I appreciate that.
It was easy.
So, I've been involved in obstacle racing since 2013. So I'm hitting my 8th year now doing this. And here in the United States, I know that it's a little different of a community in a world than it seems out where you are in Europe. But the world is very small because we all do love the same things, and we all love to get out on the course, whether they are obstacle, ninja, parkour, adventure, altitude, whatever it is. They all are tied together through that one word, and that word is obstacle. So before anything else, I do appreciate you having me here today.
That's a pleasure. So
I
let's
am
talk
ready to go
about
whenever you want
a
me
bit
to.
about. Please say
I
it
said I'm
again.
ready to go whenever you want me to. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a bit about this application that you developed, because most of the people from the obstacle sport community do know about it, but they probably don't know that it also includes the possibility of registering other races than OCR. So it's even if it's named OCR, it can manage also other types of races. So please tell them about it.
Well, first of all, again, Raul, thank you to yourself, to um, the OCR Romania Federation, the European Federation, and welcome to everybody around the world who's watching. And again, my name is Russ Blatt, as Raul said, and um, I am the assistant director of USA OCR, so I do have experience in working with federations. But I'm here today to speak to you as the creator and as the manager of OCR Buddy, which is the only calendar and database application that is in the world today. OCR Buddy is the official calendar of World Obstacle, and we do have partners in organizations and federations around the world as well. I am currently working with the European Obstacle Sports Federation to become their official calendar, the calendar for the 2022 European Championships, and I do hope at one point for all European federations. I've had preliminary conversations with some other federations as well, and our goal is to basically provide a calendar for anybody in obstacle sports. But before I go further, I just want to take a step back. I created OCR Buddy and it was released on November 1st, 2016. Our 5-year anniversary is coming up on Monday. And when we released it, there were only 4 countries in our app, and it was the United States, United Kingdom, Australia, and Canada. And we only had a few types of races, and that was OCR races, mud, inflatable races, and a couple other types. Our first version had the names, the dates, the brand that was putting on the event, another piece or two of information, and a registration link. And before that day, before we released OCR Buddy, for those who are in obstacle racing of any type, you'd have to go from website to website, finding dates, finding locations, finding registration links, whether you put them into a spreadsheet, whether you put them into a post-it notes, a whiteboard, however you did, it was kind of frustrating. So what we have done is we brought all of that information together into one location. And through the first 3 years of OCR Buddy, we kept building, we were updating, and we were growing. And this was, of course, until February, March of 2020, when the world started to slow down and it eventually stopped. We all know what happened to many of the disciplines of obstacle racing. Along with the pandemic that was happening, there were almost no live events, and brands and companies and ways to survive tried to find different ways to reach out to their athletes. Virtual events became very popular, and other brands tried to find ways that people can do things alone while together as a community. And it was around that time that I made the conscious decision that OCR Buddy could no longer be just an app. OCR Buddy had to become an active, engaged community for obstacle racing. It became for an app that was based on only events and they weren't happening anymore. It was simple and it was obvious and logical that I had to change my focus. The focus became the OCR community itself and the best way that we can engage and encourage obstacle racers around the world. I did something simple like changing the name of our Facebook group to the OCR Buddy community. I started, instead of focusing on just the events with our social media posts, I started focusing on the people, the directors, and anything else that would engage people besides just the fact that events weren't happening. The brands that were having virtual events, we promoted them. We promoted people being together while alone, and I believe that became a phrase, together alone. We even added a virtual race category in OCR Buddy so people can continue to feel part of that community. And during this time, for the past 18 months, one thing that I learned that was very important is that one simple post, one simple message can affect and change someone's life. Reminding people that while they're sitting at home during a pandemic, reminding them that the sport that they love, obstacle sports, is still around and will still be here whenever this ends. It was important to people, and it gave people a purpose. It gave people hope. And instead of sitting back waiting for the world to improve and get better, people started feeling better about themselves and about the sport. And that's also when I also started changing OCR Buddy for the future. That was during this time that we realized that obstacle sports is not just obstacle racing OCR or just virtual events. We added hybrid events we added the ability to add hybrid events, parkour, adventure, training, and ninja events. Right now we have 13 different types of categories for races inside OCR Buddy, and I can always add more. In trying to make OCR Buddy more complete for athletes, we found ways to add into our event database for racers to find hotels, directions to the events, the weather for their specific events, and everything else that they need to get from the registration link, which we provide, to getting to an event. Even soon, we're adding a code swap inside OCR Buddy so people don't have to rely on just a simple post on social media for someone to buy or to sell one of their race codes. Again, we're trying to do more and more for the obstacle race community. We also, and I think this is also very important, I'm very proud of our section called My Training. Inside of My Training, we have gyms and centers from around the world located in our database. So simply, either whether you're at home, on vacation, visiting someone, all you have to do is type in your address inside the app, and any local gyms and training facilities will pop up with the ones closest to you first. This is new. We have nearly 300 facilities here in the United States listed and 100 of them worldwide. Now I know there's many, many more out there than 100 worldwide. But as I find them, I add them to the database. And soon, probably within the next month, within the same section of My Training, we're also going to have the same ability for trainers. So those who are coaches, those who are trained coaches, you'll have a way to get your name and your abilities and your business out to the obstacle course races that are near you as well. Now, what most people don't know is that OCR Buddy is all done by hand. There's no electronic sweeping of the internet. There's no API searches, although I'd love for there to be, but there's not. It's all done through internet searches, social media searches, and website searches where we bring all this information together for the obstacle racers. And in fact, every listing of OCR Buddy, I personally check before it becomes public, because I want to make sure that it's accurate and all the information there is verified. So why do people need OCR Buddy? In the United States alone, there is 421 brands that have been listed since the beginning of 2021, with over 2,600 events. In the rest of the world, we have 471 brands listed with almost 2,100 events. Now, that sounds like a lot, but I know we're missing events. And I know that just by simply searching through the internet and searching, that we can't find every single one. Which then brings me to one of my other topics, an important one going future into 2022, and that's partnerships. And that's a way that we can try to close that gap of missing events. As I said earlier, OCR Buddy is the official calendar for World Obstacle. Through that, we are also, and could be, the official calendar for every continental and national federation and every race type under World Obstacle. Let me give an example, because before I referenced the European Obstacle Sports Federation. Inside the World Obstacle website, there are currently approximately 30 European national federations that have full membership and others that are provisional. OCR Buddy has a way to provide for each national federation its own independent calendar or event page on their own website. Using our own database, we do the work. We provide a link to set up a web page, and every national federation will have their own calendar of sanctioned events. Then we combine all of these, and then we can provide a calendar for European Obstacle Sports Federation that includes all of the sanctioned events from all of the federations and those that are sanctioned for the federations that are not yet with websites. Every country gets their own calendar. Europe gets a calendar that includes all the countries. We're also working to provide an independent calendar for the qualifying events for the 2022 European OCR Championships. All of these sanctioned events, above all of these sanctioned events, OCR Buddy still works, and we still look for every other type of event that are obstacle in Europe and around the world. So our goal is to provide a complete calendar for all of the European athletes. And by working with the national federations and working with the continental federations, I believe that can happen. And keep in mind, I keep using the word obstacle, this can be done for any type of discipline under World Obstacle, and honestly, any other type of discipline. For example, here in the United States, I've personally started to reach out and try to add more of the ninja style events. And I want to make sure that we have entire calendars from organizations like the Ultimate Ninja Athlete Association, whose president, Bob Clark, is also scheduled to speak today. The possibilities and the potential for growth while working together are unparalleled. I've also had initial discussions with members from Asia Pacific Continental Federation. I've had some discussions with Australia, France, Germany, United Kingdom, to try to do the same thing, provide a calendar so we can provide more for the athletes, the obstacle athletes in their countries. And I do believe that by doing this, we can become the preeminent location for all obstacle races. And that really excites me, because I know personally from when I started to where we are now, from not just obstacle course racing, for all the different types there are, it would be hard if you wanted to race in all of them to try to find one place to do it. And that's what we are trying to provide. Before I forget, if you want to have an event listed, you don't have to be a federation or a continental federation. You can simply just message me through Instagram or Facebook at OCR Buddy, or go to our website, ocrbuddy.com. We have a link called Submit Events. Anybody can submit any event into OCR Buddy. So don't feel that it's something that only for the federations. Every brand, every event you can list it in OCR Buddy, and we will make sure it's up on the calendar for you. And giving the people the ability to add their own events, I do believe brings us close to the goal of providing for the entire OCR community. The name may be OCR Buddy because that's how it started, but it could also be Ninja Buddy, Obstacle Buddy, Training Buddy, and maybe one day it could also be parts for parkour, adventure, altitude, and other type of obstacle sports around the world. One last thing, I talked before about the OCR community, and I really do believe that it's like no other in the world. During the pandemic, OCR Buddy's social media outreach grew 50%. So during a time where there were no events, our social media outreach grew by 50%. Use of the OCR Buddy app since the beginning of 2021 has increased over 85%. We've started an ambassador team that have ambassadors in 12 countries, and I really do believe that these are the best group of ambassadors that are in the sport, and I am so proud that they are with us. The OCR community and everybody who's watching deserves to have everything that they want given to them because of their love for this sport. We all want it to succeed. OCR Buddy is willing to work. I am willing to work with anybody who has the goal of helping to promote this sport. I love obstacle sports. I truly believe it's unlike anything else in the world. And the more and more sports that I see, the more I am impressed with the people that are in this community. I will always gladly answer any questions you have. You can always message me through Facebook or Instagram at OCR Buddy, or my email is russ@ocrbuddy.com. Raul, I thank you for allowing me to speak today. I thank the OCR Romania Federation. I thank European Federation, World Obstacle, and everybody who's been part of the success of OCR Buddy. And I really do appreciate the time that you've given me here today.
Great speech, Russ. So you didn't need a presentation after all. So I believe you did touch more without the presentation than with one. So great job indeed. You did say that gyms are able to list themselves and also non-affiliated events. So this is indeed true. An event can register and they can contact you directly. This is the reason that we did bring you in here, because there are independent events in Romania at the moment, and we do encourage them to contact you directly if they want to list within your application. Every event is a plus for the sport itself. When they want to take things up a bit and become a more serious type of event and maybe discuss about qualifiers for the European Championships, then they can consider becoming a partner event with the federation. So they could be included in the national championship that we're trying to form right now. I will not go on for a very long time because we did have a short technical problem, and Robert from UNAA, Bob Clark from UNAA, is on standby. So we're going to keep it short. Thank you for making time today for this. And
Raul, can I say one
we'll
thing
keep
that I
in touch.
forgot to mention? Just one
Please.
thing before listing events in OCR Buddy, working with the continental federations, working with the national federations is at no charge to anybody. I do not believe that for you to have your events listed for your athletes should be charged at all. So please don't even worry about it. Get in touch with me. National federations, continental federations, there is no charge to you. I want all this information to be out there for all the athletes around the world.
Great.
And thank you, Raul.
Great. Thank you, Russ. Thank you. And until next time.
Definitely.
Okay, let's move on to our next guest, who has been waiting. He has been in standby for quite a while now because we had a problem. Please accept my apologies, Robert, because you were in the car and you had to wait a bit longer. I'm sorry.
All right.
But thank you for waiting. Hi.
Yeah. Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we're perfect as I see it. Robert Clark is the president of the UNAA, which is the official ninja league for obstacle ninja sports, as for World Obstacle. And even if some of us do know what ninja sports are, the sport is not that big in Europe at the moment. But in America, it's a whole different discussion because ninja is a phenomenon. And Robert, or Bob, as some of us know him, is going to tell us a few words about what ninja means. It's from my point of view, the most spectacular sport in the world. Please
I'll thank you, Raul. I appreciate you having me on. I look forward to working with all you guys, and federations throughout the world. We're really growing rapidly, and it obviously this started in Japan, and then somehow made its way to America, and America just blew it up, and it's just gone crazy with it. A little bit about our organization. The way we kind of got started was, as many of you know, or many of you may not know, in Ninja Warrior, or American Ninja Warrior, you have to submit a video, and that's how you get on the show. So a lot of people had no chance of getting on the show. They were taking, this last year, about 70,000 applications, but they only pick about 500 people to be on the show. So less than 1% actually got to compete. So we had seen a need about 7-8 years ago when it was going on, and said, there's got to be another way to be involved in ninja besides being on the show. So that's how Ultimate Ninja Athlete Association evolved. Was I started out just allowing gyms around the country to host a competition, and then that competition would qualify specific athletes, and then those athletes, of course, could go on and go into what's called a regional, and then the regionals into our big world finals. Of course, the first year was just national finals, and by year 2, started having other countries reaching out to us, asking us if they could be involved. And then that was about the same time, gosh, back in 2015, I think, when I got a hold of Ian, because we actually started to pursue Olympics just to find out what it took to be in. So I had contacted GAISF and sent in my application, and had sent in the $4,000, everything that was required. And they actually said, you know what? Instead of taking your $4,000, it might be smarter to contact this Ian Adamson guy, and he's got a company that's already working on Olympics for obstacle sport. So that's how I got a hold of Ian. So they actually, just canceled my $4,000, which was nice, because you don't get that money back.
Yeah.
And just said, okay, we'll just take this application and use it towards World Obstacle. So I'm glad we did that. It was a good move, because I think World Obstacle and FISO is the way to go for obstacle sports, for all of us to be in one. I think that's going to be beneficial to all of us. So on our end, when I joined with Ian, it was good, because he was kind of looking into the ninja, but didn't know enough about it. He's obviously an OCR guy, so he needed to know more about how the ninja worked. So we explained him our organization, how we're just like the show, just like American Ninja Warrior. We have gyms all over the world that have courses, and we run qualifiers at these courses. And then we started putting together a real rule set. We went through several different types of rules, because of course the show is a one and done. And in most sports, it's not a one and done thing. Baseball's not one and done, football's not one and done. So we thought, why is ninja one and done? You fall, you're done. And some guys were falling. If you guys watched the show or followed it at all, you see even some of the very, very best athletes would fall on the first obstacle. And we thought, okay, that's rough, because you fall on the first obstacle, you're done. And that would be the best athlete that really didn't get a chance to show his skill. So we changed our rules enough to where now what it is, it's a 3-fail rule. So in those fails, you get 3 full fails throughout the course. Say there's 10 or 12 obstacles in the course. Once you failed the third one, you're done. But it gave you 3 opportunities, and most of the time it's a silly mistake if it's a top-level athlete. Again, I don't know how many of you watch it this year, but the guy who won American Ninja Warrior this year, his name is Caden Lebsack. He's only 15 years old. He also won our world finals at UNAA. So, all the same athletes are competing in both American Ninja Warrior and in our league. But our league is, like I said, just trying to get introduced to World OCR so that we can be part of the obstacle sport, part of potential Olympic inclusion. We've got a scoring system now that I know some people are trying to figure out still. I know Romania is trying to figure it out, and we hope Romania joins us this year. And we have an event every year in March called the World Ninja. We changed the name now. It's called World Ninja Athlete Games, and it's worldwide. We've got about 12 or 15 countries right now involved, and about 45 or 50 USA gyms all involved. And it's a really fun event because you're competing on the same course that everybody else is across the world at the same time. So we actually have a live leaderboard that follows who's in the lead. So one time a guy in Russia will be in the lead. Next thing you know, a guy from Germany jumps in the lead. Next thing, a guy from Canada is now in the lead. So it's really fun to kind of watch the live leaderboard and see who's leading in what country. And then we also award that particular gym if they have the most top 3 athletes. So that gives us a chance to, really reward the top level people in the entire world. So that's one of the things we're doing on a worldwide level for the athletes to feel like they're competing against others in the world. And then, of course, we have our qualifying process. Those athletes actually qualify for our Las Vegas World Finals. And so they can come to Las Vegas in, this year it'll be in July again, and compete for the World Finals.
So, really good quality information, Bob. Thanks for the briefing. You asked if we are planning to join you. Of course, we are planning to join you. The competition that we had this year in March, that was organized in partnership with Ninja Sport Romania and Ozaki Arena. This is the name of the establishment that we organized it with. We will, of course, discuss details with them, and now we have even more organizations than at the moment that we did the World Ninja Challenge, and we are planning to do it at a whole different level next year. So we will talk affiliations, of course, with the organizations, and we are planning to work as a team because there are people of value that want to dedicate their time for the sport to develop, and if they want to do it, we are gladly open to build things with them. It only has to be in a way in which everything is transparently done and in a proper way. Proper way meaning that we have to go by the rules. So if we go by the rules, nothing wrong can happen. I do remember the Ninja Master application that you were talking about. It is indeed very, very nice to see how things evolve within the platform. You see athletes from all over the world logging in and making incredible times on the track. Some of the times from the competition from March were absolutely amazing. We didn't think that they were real, so I'm sure there were, but it's absolutely amazing. The problem is that, the problem is we do not have those times of training structures yet in Romania, but this is something that we are trying to work on. This is our main problem. We do not have infrastructure. So this is all the time. I'm saying the same thing. We don't have infrastructure. So when it comes to ninja competitions or OCR or whatever, this is one of the biggest problems that we have. But we will solve it starting this conference. One of the next speakers is going to solve this problem for us. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for making time. Thank you again for waiting to come into the broadcast. It was a real pleasure to talk to you, and we will keep in touch, and we will do Ninja, of course, next year. Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Great. All right. Thank you very much, Raul. I appreciate you having me on.
Have a great day.
You too.
Okay, so before moving on to our next guest, we will read a few comments because my colleagues from backstage said that we do have a bit of comments and good ones on the live chat. Let me just check them. So we have Fahad, who said that we are doing a great event, and we have Daniel saying also that we are doing a great event, and he's glad to be part of the community. So I really hope that we are doing something right, and that the sport will grow in Romania. Let's see our next guest. Just a second. Okay, we were talking about obstacle sports infrastructure and the lack of it. So this is the perfect time to switch to our next guest, who will talk on exactly this subject. We will talk about the possibility of having structure that we didn't have before in Romania. It will be a great partnership between us and from Romania and a really good quality company from Hungary, one of our neighbor countries. Next we're gonna have Attila from Hungary, from OCR Sport Hungary, and he is gonna talk to us about obstacle sports structure and what we will see in Romania in the next years. But I'm going to welcome him, and then we're going to see a short movie before seeing the presentation. Welcome, Attila.
Hi, Raul. Thank you for the invitation. And yeah, let's see the video at first.
Okay.
Great. So now we're in atmosphere. Please go on.
Yes, thank you for the introduction and for the video. Greetings everyone from Budapest, Hungary. In the video, you could see how our obstacles looks like during a race in a use. And now I would like to go into a little bit more details. And I made the presentation. I don't know, Raul, can we start it?
Yes, of course, we can switch to the presentation if you.
Yep. So if we go to the next slide, first I want to say that who we are basically, we are dealing with two things. On the one hand, we are race organizers, and also on the other hand, we are manufacturing certified obstacles. And this is basically what I'm going to talk now, which might be interesting for you listeners. At the end of the conference, if you will be interested, you can check out our website for more information, ocrsporthungary.com. And first, I will give you a little background. I will tell the story of Running Warriors. Then I will introduce our services and the target groups who we are looking for. And at the end, you will see some pictures of some of our obstacles. And we can go to the next slide. So our story began 6 years ago in 2015 when the first Running Warriors race was organized in Hungary. The following year, in 2016, the race organizers founded the Hungarian OCR Association and became and still remained up until today its main supporter. 1 year later, 2017, the Hungarian Association joined FISO. And you have to know that at the beginning, the race had more simple obstacles, but we always wanted to improve. And it became to a point that in 2019, two years ago, together with engineers and obstacle sport experts, we decided to start to design and manufacture our own obstacles. And because the safety is in our focus, then this is why we wanted to get all the needed certification for our OCR obstacles. And at the end of last year, December 2020, we received the ISO 9001 certification. And just a couple of months later, also the certificate of conformity, which is required by the Hungarian Innovation and Technology Ministry. So now we can say that our products are the good quality and completely safe for using. The next step, what we are aiming to reach, is stepping into the international market and outside from Hungary. And the first move to reach this was just signing an exclusive distribution agreement with OCR Sport Romania. So this is the first country where we have an exclusive partner, but we don't want to stop here. We would like to move further and get partnership in other countries as well. Next slide, please. And what are our services exactly? So if you will visit our website, you will see that you can either buy or rent the obstacles. If you want to rent, then we can deliver to the requested place. And with our expert team, we set up the whole course, which lengths can vary from 100 meters to 3 kilometers. We have different size obstacles, 3 by 4 meter, 4 by 6 meter, 6 by 9 meters, and obviously they can be varied according to your needs. Previously, we have developed a special training cage, which is not used on races, but on trainings. Its size is 7 by 7 meters, and it has 7 different obstacles, and 7 people can train at the same time on it. It can be useful for sport clubs, for training bases, for schools, for example. And what I have just previously mentioned, that we signed the agreement with OCR Sport Romania. As a consequence of this, in the future, our obstacles will be used also in the Romanian OCR championships. Next slide, please. And let's talk about a little bit about our target groups, so who we are aiming. One of them are the race organizers, obviously. So the race organizers who want to buy or rent some obstacles for their races, but they are not the only ones. We think our product can be useful for training bases and for sports clubs as well, for individuals who want to train at home, for schools, because we have specially designed obstacles for children. So from elementary schools to high schools and of course to universities and colleges as well, it can be useful to buy one of the our obstacles and set up in the schoolyard. And we have experienced that children how excited and enthusiastic can be about OCR sport. We have organized races in schools around Hungary, and it was just amazing how excited the kids got when they started to use the obstacles. So we can definitely suggest offer this to schools. Also, we are aiming local councils and municipalities who want to boost up the sport life in their community. And last but not least, we are looking for distribution representatives, partners around Europe. So similarly to Romania, where we have found already, we are hoping to find other people in other countries who we can cooperate with. So if you are thinking, if you feel that it might be interesting for you, just visit our website, write a message to us, and we will get back to you. And now we can see some examples, some graphics of our obstacles. So next slide, please. This one is the dice. It's a 6 meter long, 4 meter wide obstacle, and you can see that the runner has to get the task done without touching the ground with his feet. Next slide, please. It's the same sized obstacle called the cheese. The task is the same, getting through without touching the ground, while these so-called cheese slices are moving quite a bit, so it makes it more difficult. And in the next one, you will see the Icarus. The difficulty in this one is that these wheels are not stable. When you touch them, they start to roll. So this is the trick in this one. And I said it earlier that we can combine these obstacles according to your needs. So in the next slide, you will see an example for that. This is a 9 meter long, 6 meter wide combined obstacle. You can see the previous three obstacles in it, and with the fourth one called the lot. This is a good example, which this one can be used in a race. 3 tracks, as you can see, and the competitors have to get through the obstacles right after each other without touching the ground. And the next one, you will see the training cage, which is 7 by 7 meter size, and you can see that 7 different obstacles included in one. So it's 7 in one, and the 7 people can train on it at the same time. It can be useful at sport clubs, at schoolyards, and so on. So these pictures, you could see, these were just some examples of from our portfolio. We have much more, which the full portfolio you can see at our website. And yeah, let's go to the last slide, please. Here you can see the website, ocrsportshungary.com. And if you are interested either renting or buying, if you want to organize a race and you don't have enough obstacles or not the quality you want, and you want to rent, you can contact us. Or if you would like to, you see fantasy in the cooperation with us to represent our brand in your country, across Europe, then also drop us a message and we will get back to you soon. So thank you, Raul. I can't hear you now, Raul. I don't know.
Yes, I muted myself.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I was saying that we did see a lot of nicely built obstacles, and I do know I am familiar with the quality that you are providing. So this is clearly the reason that we chose to work with OCR Sport Hungary. Quality is clearly a really important aspect when it comes to obstacles. Quality, of course, and safety, because accidents can happen. Usually, they do happen in obstacle sports, and when you want to do a proper championship, not just any race, the obstacles have to be certified. This is an aspect that I was talking about since the beginning of me joining FISO, or World Obstacle. And we did talk about it more than once with the president of FISO, Mr. Ian Adamson. But now we do have an option. Until now, we didn't have a clear option at this price. The prices are also something that you didn't mention. The prices are really good compared to the offer that we have in the market today for obstacles. So we do recommend that you check out the website of OCR Sport Hungary. And yes, indeed, they will be the ones that will be through the partnership that OCR Sport Romania will have with the Romanian Federation, the ones that will provide obstacles in the Romanian Championship. So one of the pictures that we saw there was the 9x6 that was planned to be in Romania. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do it. Today we would have been able to touch physically this obstacle in Brasov, where we, with our partner from Zimbrel OCR, would have done a joint event where we would have presented the federation. So we hope to do this next year in person. We probably will see obstacles from OCR Sport Hungary. I believe certainly we will see obstacles from OCR Sport Hungary in Romania next year. And
we are looking forward to it.
Yes, we think that this will be a great collaboration. Just a second. Okay. Thank you, Attila, for the presentation. I want to ask my colleagues if we do have any questions from the website, from the YouTube broadcast, if there are any at the moment. Okay, let's move on. So we are going to pass to our next guest. I'm going to thank you, Attila, for the presentation, and
thank you, Raul,
we will keep in contact. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Bye. Okay, so we did see obstacles. We did see a movie in which these obstacles were used during a race. So I know the quality that this manufacturer works, and I did see them, and there are these are obstacles that are appropriate for events and also are appropriate for training facilities. There was also another obstacle called training cage. We do recommend the training cage for outdoor training centers because it's really well built. A lot of obstacles from it are obstacles that you will find on the track of the OCR European Championship. So we do have a lower type obstacles, low rigs, as we call them in obstacle sports, and the price for them is really good. So do check them out. Okay, let's move on. And our next speaker is going to talk about coaching programs and official programs from World Obstacle, because this is another really important aspect that we are going to approach today. coaching and official programs for Romania, and not only Romania, why not for all Europe from World Obstacle. And we will have on our next guest, Naibe Stata from the Netherlands, who is the coordinator of coaching and official programs for World Obstacle for Europe. Hi, Naibe. It's nice to have you.
Hi, Raul. Thank you for having me.
Okay. So let's see. We should think about the presentation. How do you want to do it? Do we want to switch directly to a presentation, or do you want to say a few words before?
I can say a few words while the first slide is on. That's fine.
Okay. Can my colleagues please put Naibe's presentation on?
Yes. So I want to talk about the technical official and coach training courses. To start, everything is defined by its boundaries. We have to know where one thing begins and ends in order to define it. And after we have set the boundaries, rules need to be applied to that entity. And some rules are voluntarily applied, some are automatically induced, and some are mandatory. And those mandatory rules sometimes need a little encouragement or reinforcement in order for everyone to adhere to the same rules and boundaries. So OCR has recently been recognized by GAES as an official sport. So this means that this new sport also needs some clear defined boundaries and rules, like every other sport. So this is where the officials training is set up by FISO and distributed through all the national federations for Europe via EOSF has come into place. So this has given me a wonderful opportunity to meet different national federations all through Europe, listen to their stories, hear their interest, the motivations, and their enthusiasm to help the sport of OCR grow. So far, I've been meeting up with the UK, Finland, and Ireland, who have successfully finished their level 2 training course. And other countries like Lithuania, Belgium, and France, to name just a few, also have dates set or are in the process of getting a date to be trained too. So the EOSF goal is to have all the European national federations trained at least level 2 or 3, actually, I should say, before the European Championships. And at the European Championships, the goal is to have those officials present at the European Championships to represent their countries, and also to have, like in other sports usually is the case, a different set of officials present, not just from the host country, because, for instance, if we look at football, you don't only have the host country's referees present at the World Championships, you have referees from different countries present. And that's the same that we want to set up with officials training. So first I'll be talking a bit about officials training, and after that I will say a bit about the coach courses. What might be good to know is that both courses are offered free of charge to all the national federations. The courses can only be accessed via the national federation, so you have to be a member of the national federation in order to be able to attend and profit from these courses. There's one side note in that the official training, well, it's just free of charge, while the coach course, because afterwards it can be sold via the national federation, there is some financial gain for national federation to be doing the coach courses. So here we see at the first slide, we see some rules and some rules of what an official is. So ensuring fair and safe competition, that's an important thing for officials to know, to adhere to. They have to be serious and have a professional approach to officiating. They have to be committing to excellence, and they have to meet requirements as specified by the International Olympic Committee. And during the course, all this will be taught as a way to deal with the expectation demands we set on a good official. Can we see the next slide, please? So there are currently 5 levels defined of the official course, officials course. Level 1, that's just having race marshal experience. Level 2, that's the course that I'm currently teaching all the NFs. That will be the training in which you get to be trained to national to be a national technical official, learn more about the rules in theory, and there's also a practical bit. And to move on to level 3, there's also a theoretical exam. I've heard that currently the academy is not online yet, so it's not possible to do the written exam yet, but they're thinking about probably around the mid or end November that it will be online and people can do the level 3 written exam. But before that, of course, they can do the practical part by being an official at qualifying races. Qualifying races are set up by the National Federation because that can differ between different countries. Next slide, please. So this is a bit of what the level 2 coach course looks like. So you have to be experienced at a race event, and for now we set the minimum at 3 events. Now, because I've been to different countries, I've heard it can be quite difficult for some countries to have their officials attending 3 events. So we've been talking about it within EOSF, that it doesn't have to be just in the national country of the federation. You could, for instance, also go abroad to like a sister country, a neighboring country in which you have good relationships with, and with help of the persons that are regulating the officials, you can still fit in for the requirements to become a level 3 official. The background check, that's part of something that's also differing between countries, and that's also something that I'll discuss with the countries specifically when they do the course with me. The rules can all be read at worldobstacle.org and so on. Next slide, please. So these are the key objectives that will be taught to. It's very important for FISO and because of that also for EOSF that we grow and develop the sport globally by making the technical official course available for all the national federations. That's also the reason why it's free of charge. Also because, well, officials do not make any money currently, at least. And so that's also why it's staying free of charge. We want to provide a framework for technical officials' education and development for national federations so they can develop obstacle sports in their own country with effective technical officials from grassroots to world level events. We want to provide a developing system to increase technical officials' competence and effectiveness through international standards because, well, the main goal is to get to the Olympics. We want to provide a mechanism by which technical officials from all national federations can progress along the officiating pathway, and we want to assure quality by providing standards, so those rules and boundaries that I started out with. Next slide, please. So here you can see the framework not only for the official coach training, the official training, but also for the coach training. Now OCR doesn't only constitute obstacle course racing, but also ninja sports and adventure racing sports. On the right, you can see, you can see the martial training, the official training that I first discussed, and the 5 levels in it. In the middle, you can see the coach courses, and all the way to the left, you can see the ninja sport course. Of course, OCR and Ninja differ quite a bit. So you see that the coach courses also differ because, for instance, in Ninja there's no running, while in OCR there's quite some running involved. Next slide, please. So that's also what you see at the coach course. The coach course for the for OCR, you can see that there's also running tech training involved, while in Ninja you don't have that. The prerequisites are different. They are the same, but after that some things change. But you could say that for like 50%, those courses overlap. And For now, only level 1 and level 2 are developed, and next up, level 3 will be up for development. For that, level 2 has been quite successfully implemented in quite some countries in Asia, and there's a lot of training being done in America too, Mid and Central America too. And sorry, can you go to the next slide, please? So here you can see the difference between the coach course for OCR and Ninja level. You see there's like 50% overlap, and the last part Ninja specific. I do not know exactly what the coach course looks like at the moment because I'm myself not qualified as a senior coach yet, but I'm working up towards that. So for now, I'm only doing the official course training. And Sean Wild from FISO is the one that is implementing all the coach course training until I'm qualified enough to also implement that for the European affiliated national federations. Let's see. So I talked about how you can access the program. That will be via the national federations only. Written exam. Yeah, I think that's about it. That's what I wanted to discuss with you.
Okay, thank you, Naibe, for explaining to us what the officials and coach programs from World Obstacle are about, so that the community sees what we are working on. I am sure that a lot of other countries from Europe as well don't have a lot of information on the subject because I do remember struggling with Stefano. And you of course also know that we did try to contact them because I forgot to mention at the beginning, but Naibe and I are colleagues at the European Obstacle Sports Federation, and we are part of the same board. So we do speak usually once a month. It's usual to have a discussion to assess certain things. And this is one of the problems that we are having. We have to start delivering this FISO coach and officials to more countries because at the moment, I believe there are not a lot of countries that are inside the program. Is this correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Still a lot of countries need to contact me. So if there are any countries here in the meeting today, please contact me. The training courses can be delivered either online or live. For instance, I've been to Ireland and to the UK, and it's no problem for me to travel to those countries, depending on the dates, of course. And like I said, it's very valuable for both us from EOSF to see how the national federations are doing, because then we know how we can help them if there's any way that they need help. And also we can also learn a lot from their knowledge too.
Exactly. I am certain that things will work out, and people will see that if they want to do things properly in a sport, getting certified is clearly the first step in doing things properly. So, related to obstacle sports and official certification, is going to be also our next guest that is coming up. Let me just check if we do have any questions from our viewers. I believe we are fine. Okay, and I was planning on tying these two aspects together: the part with safe sports, and the part with getting certified as a coach, because this is exactly the aspect I was trying to point out: the importance of safeguarding, as in safe sports, for the people that will be coaches for the sport. We are a young federation. We have the chance to start things properly, and this is what we plan to do in Romania. And this is why we did contact someone from the Terre de Homme Foundation that is successfully delivered a safeguarding program in Romania, and we will hear about it in the following minutes. Thank you, Naibe, for making time to log in today. I do know that you are on a business trip, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, and we will, of course, talk like we usually do at the next meeting.
Exactly.
It was great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day. Okay, so we did see information about coaching, about official programs, about the aspects that we're trying to cover within the European Obstacle Sports Federation and at a world level. These programs are already working at the moment in a lot of countries, but in Europe we are still at level 1, so to say. Our next guest is someone that is going to speak to us about safe sports as in safeguarding. I don't know how many of you do know this term, but usually someone that works in sports has at least heard about safeguarding, and we would like to emphasize the importance of the safeguarding aspects when it comes to training, especially for children. So please welcome our next guest. She is Cristina Vladescu from Terre de Homme Foundation. She was the project manager on the project that I was telling you about, a safe place for children in sports, or keeping children safe in sports. Sorry for misplacing my words. Welcome, Cristina.
Thank you very much, Raul. It's a big honor for me to be here. I'm quite impressed by what you are doing.
Thank you.
I'm sure kids will be happy, and they will be happy to and will enjoy to do races with obstacles and all the other disciplines connected with your federation. I'm fascinated, and I'm very happy to be here and be able to share you what have been developed in terms of safeguarding in Romania, trying to adhere to the international standards for safeguarding in sports for children and Keeping Children Safe Coalition. So I will say from the beginning that the ZOM is the biggest NGO from Switzerland working for children. It has a long history of supporting programs for children in many countries of the world. And in Romania, it's since 1992. This project started Keeping Children Safe in Sports. Started in the end of 2019. It was a pilot project in Romania and a great opportunity to develop and promote child safeguarding policies in sports settings in Romania. This is an European project. It's financed by Rights, Equality and Citizenship Program of the European Union. Romania coordinates the project, Terre de Homme Romania, and is done in partnership with Terre de Homme Hellas, and they develop child safeguarding policies in their summer camps. And Terre de Homme Hungary. Terre de Homme Hungary has a great platform, Child Hub is the name, that promotes child safety in many domains for the specialist. And yes, we are glad that now, after almost 2 years, we advanced and safeguarding started to be known and respected, and we plead that it will be included in the legislation as well for children. In Romania, we were partners from the beginning with the National Authority for Child Protection, with Football Federation, Romanian Football Federation, and Romanian Gymnastic Federations. And that was a great asset because what we built, we adapted to the local legislation. And now, recently, these two federations, Romanian Football Federation and Gymnastic Federation, were the first that signed the policy and procedures that we developed. And because they signed and made a public commitment, I think that brought that helped that other clubs from Romania adhered as well to the safeguarding. And we have another 20 clubs from Bucharest and other cities, not football and gymnastic, but not only, even karate or other sports adhered. And since the beginning, we plead with all our forces that safeguarding is a team sport and it's about all disciplines and it's about us all. I mean, safeguarding is the responsibility of an organization, of sport organization in this case, but this safeguarding has to be part of all our life. I mean, in all other domains, but sport is essential for the lives of children. So it's the responsibility of a sport organization that through the programs, activities, through all the interactions they have with children and young people, they prevent any type of abuse and they respond immediately in case of abuse and they monitor the progresses that they have, the progresses they have. This is the definition from the Coalition of Children of Keeping Children Safe, but is in line with the European standards. And yeah, because you said safeguarding was not so known before. I mean, safeguarding is not protection. This is the responsibility of our organization, and it's so important for children. And it is important because protects children, protects the value of sport, and protects and assures the integrity of an organization. And that's why certification and respecting the standards that are mentioned in these safeguarding procedures, this is very important. And to tell you shortly, there are so many things. I mean, it's quite a complex domain, and maybe here I just want to focus on the importance of safeguarding. But for instance, in terms of prevention is the key. If you prevent, then risks are so minimalized. I mean, bad things won't happen. And these bad things, bad things you can detail what means in many ways. But means, for instance, any type of harm that a child can feel. Children have their way to express themselves, and even if they suffer, they won't say it easily loud. They won't say it easily loud because many times they are afraid, and we live in a world where the voice of children is not enough heard. And this is what we plead for. Safeguarding is highlighting the potential of children, giving them a voice, consulting them in the activities that you have as an organization, of sport organization, if you want to do recreational activities or performance, because performance is very important, but that doesn't mean that kids are not safe. So safety refers to the security of the equipments and all the, the equipments really need to be very, very careful, checked, and the spaces where children practice sports should be very checked. I mean, this is prevention. Prevention means evaluation of risk. Prevention means a code of conduct for the coaches. Prevention means a person who is a child focus. I mean, a safeguarding focal point that kids can refer to. Means safer recruitment. Means these are very important. Means that they are protected. But safety means not only, means this part, but means as well that they are protected and not emotionally abused, for instance. It's not about their physical safety, okay, but it's about their emotional safety and mental safety and their happiness, and this is essential. So we have to be aware about this risk and to inform kids, because if they know, then they will have a voice, and if they know their voice could be listened, they will be more open to talk. So sometimes kids not talk if they do performance in sports because sport is their life. They believe that the coach could be even maybe more aggressive or abusive because this is a way to progress and to win a competition. But somehow they believe sometimes they are in a love relation with the coach. And this is something that makes them again be silent, even if they are abused. And I heard these 2 years so many things, and I'm still in the process of learning about the how this world of children and the world of adults working in sports, could work together, and we could provide them a safer space. They believe they won't be hurt, or because adults are people with power, are people trusted persons, and sometimes children are only children. But recently, that's why we had the chance, for instance, to develop the project. Recently, in the recent years, great sport people had the courage to talk about their abuses as children, and there are some platform very on great impact. One is Start to Talk, for instance, to give a voice adults who are adults and give a voice to children and promote that never ever abuses to happen. This is for sexual abuse, Start to Talk, but people and sports VIP and not only from all over the world start to talk, and that give a voice to children, and then it's more awareness, and this awareness is a way to prevent, and this awareness help abuses not to happen anymore. Okay, so sexual abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, neglect, which means a lack of love and a lack of giving opportunities to all children to have the same chances to perform. All these type of abuses may happen in sports in some specific contexts. They can happen, of course, they can happen home because it's a high level of domestic violence, for instance, in schools, in community, in parks. But if we refer to sports, then the main risk situations could be injuries because kids are pushed beyond their limits, and never ever a child shouldn't be put beyond the limit, which is appropriate for his age or for his needs. Then the pressure to performance. I mean, children are, of course, willing to win the contests, and winning is a great joy. It's going beyond our limits, but pressure to performance shouldn't be the shouldn't be at the expense of a child happiness or safety. That's the main thing. Then there are these close relationships. This is a high risk in all sports, but that's why we need to be very careful. Close relationships refers to this type of relation between the coach and the young person, and the coach could be a mentor. He could, of course, the coach is a mentor. He's one of the closest persons for children. It's one of the person close is a mentor for him, for a child, but he has the power to provoke harm if he's not aware of his power and he's using it badly. Is what I mentioned earlier. And then
Exactly.
coaches should be informed. That's why in the safeguarding procedures we have a code of conduct that always mention the behaviors which are to be followed by coaches, and things that shouldn't ever be done by any coach in all his behaviors. I don't hear you. I hope.
Yes, I am here, but I'm really listening to what you're saying because you did touch a lot
Okay.
of subjects. You
Yeah,
did
yeah.
touch a lot of subjects
I
of
was
interest,
trying
and
before before joining here. I was trying to map what means safeguarding, but I tell you, I would like to have even more time, but that's why I go through one field to another. But
Yes,
safeguarding is about all. So referring to risky situations, this close relation have to be very carefully approached, and um, the coach is the one who inspired the child, and always this relation should be beneficial for the children.
exactly. Great information for the community, Christina. I am sure that you have a lot of more information, and I see that you are talking with an incredible ease about the subject. So this means, can you still? Yes, you can hear me.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
it's okay
sure.
because the screen froze for a second. So, and I believe that you could probably talk an extra hour about it because there is a lot of information regarding this aspect.
Yeah.
But you will have a chance to do it because this is not an only occasion that I'm planning to have you as a guest. So I plan to collaborate with you and the foundation that you represent because you clearly know how to go about the subject in Romania. You did contact the other federations which are of more tradition because we are a new and fresh
Mhm.
federation and you know how to approach things so that we do things the right way in Romania. Related to the problems that you pointed out, indeed, prevention is clearly the key, and I also noted that you said that children tend tend to tend to not know how to react when they face a possible problem. So they don't know how to react to a possible problem. This is where
Mhm.
you come in. This is where we come in
Mhm.
as federations and the clubs come in, and
Mhm.
it's clearly something that we can teach in order for them to know how to deal with a certain situation when it comes up. Because unfortunately, it will come up. If you are a athletic person, an athletic girl especially, it's really probable that it will come up. So girls need to have the confidence to bounce these things back when it comes to sport because
Mhm.
sports has to
Mhm.
be kept as a fun activity, as an enjoyable activity. It's not something that they have to do with fear. Your campaign, your video from the campaign points this out perfectly.
Mhm.
So, and we did
Mhm.
share it, by the way, and the community reacted
Oh,
really
I'm
nicely to
glad.
it. And
Mhm.
we also have another course from the WADA, who is the anti-doping agency, the global
Mhm.
anti-doping agency. It's called an ASP course, an athlete support personnel course, which touches a lot of subjects related to what you pointed out today. I did do this course, so I do have the certification, and I do
Mhm.
recommend it to other people coordinating sports clubs or federations. It is a free course, and
Mhm.
it is of great value to everyone who is in contact with young or not necessarily young athletes. I believe that we
Mhm.
did touch all the subjects that we were planning to today. Um, I don't think that we have questions related to the safe sports aspect at the moment. So I'm going to thank you for being here and explaining to us the importance of safeguarding and safe sports. And until next time, um, I believe
Thank you very much. Thank you very much,
you're
and I'm glad.
fine.
Yeah, if coaches would like to read more, I mean, we have now some manuals that we created during the project, and we have a brochure for children. I mean, only this I want to highlight. I mean, children should
Please.
be, informed about their rights and have exactly what to say to live in a culture, an open culture. And the brochure, I think it's very nice for children to read because it's on the level of their understanding and easy to follow. And kids don't know; they don't know about the number, the national number for them. Or we really need to promote it as much as we can. Yeah, and thank you
We
so
will.
much. And I hope
Thank
we'll
you.
collaborate.
Thank you. I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. Thank you, Christina. Okay. So we're going to move on to our next guest.
And good luck. Good luck with the start.
Speak to you afterwards. Okay. This is a great moment for sports, because we did have information that usually is neglected when it comes to sports, and professional athletes do know this aspect, especially girls from professional sports. So the collaboration with Christina is going to be a long-term one in Romania at least, and we do recommend that you as representatives of other organizations from the World Obstacle Confederation and from other sports as well, if you are logged in, get in contact with the Terdon Foundation and give safe sports a serious thought. Next we're gonna move on, and let me just check. I see that one of our guests that missed his appointment logged in. Just a second. Okay. Okay, just a second. Okay, so we will have the honor of having a two-star general on the broadcast. Okay, I see that he managed to log in. We're talking about Mr. General Constantin Adrian Cholponia, who is the Deputy Commander of the Multinational Southeast Corps of NATO. So not only Romania, he is active in more than one country, and he's also a diplomat, and it's a great honor to see him here today. Welcome, and thank you for joining.
Good evening, and I hope the connection is working. I'm not so sure. I'm using my son headset for this connection.
Well, we are good to go as I see it. Yes, I can hear you. Probably the connection is not the best, but it will serve its purpose. So I would like to ask you to point out the connection, if you can, between obstacle sports as you see it, because we did have a joint project this year with you. I did talk briefly about it at the beginning of the broadcast with the president of the Obstacle Sports Federation from the Philippines, and we talked about the event that we had together at the beginning of this month, together with the Invictus Foundation, with the Invictus athletes at the military base from Sibiu, from Romania, and you did have a quite inspiring speech at that event. You did tie things together between obstacle sports and the military situations quite nicely. So this is one of the reasons why we invited you in the show, so in the broadcast. So please talk a bit about this, about these two. How do you see them working together?
Once more, good evening. I wasn't expecting to have this conversation in English, but I will adapt very soon, since I'm also representing Multinational Corps Southeast. Yes, military leaders are interested all the time, are interested in building the skills, the necessary skills for soldiers in order for them to survive on the battlefield. And this survival is ensured on their reaction on the battlefield, how quick they can adapt. Adaptability and flexibility is one of the requirements. And during centuries, it's nothing new. During centuries, we are trying to find new methods to train during the peace in order to be ready during the battle. All of the NATO countries, they developed this military obstacle course, and of course Romania tried the different models. What we opened, and we have this opening operation for the new obstacle course in Sibiu, which was built by Land Forces Academy. I participated only with the design, which was borrowed from Army, and we try to replicate Derby Queen obstacle course from Fort Benning, Georgia, which is a very complex, over 24 obstacles on 2.4 meters length. Every obstacle is trying to replicate the situation from the battlefield, from the ground. For example, I'll give you. It's very difficult to describe in words an obstacle course, but you imagine all the obstacles are made on wood, very massive wood. Are some obstacles 10 and 12 meters height, because this time it's one of the main problem for the human body. We are trying to win over our fear when we face height, and balance is the second skill we need in order to cope with the height. So we have these obstacles up to 10 meters, 12 meters. For example, the first obstacle is trying to replicate the insertion of a squad, infantry, or you name it. Could be special ops, could be any type of military squad by helicopter. In the situation, the helicopter cannot land on the ground. In case we use the procedure, and in order to train the procedures or fast rope procedure, we have the first step climbing on the rope, 3 to 5 meters, and maintaining balance surface, which is trying to develop the internal balance of the soldier going to the exit area, and the exit area at 10 meters, and then the soldier has to jump on the rope and do the fast rope procedure. So this was one of the first obstacles we constructed, or should I say, Land Forces Academy constructed. Yes.
Yes, I did see the obstacles. They are of good quality, solid obstacles, and we did have personnel, military personnel, that demonstrated the approach alongside with our athletes, so that cadets from the academies saw how you should approach such an obstacle course track. They did do quite a nice comparison. We did also hear Colonel Teodorescu say, have a good speech on the subject, just like you're saying, that obstacle course is something that when you when you are able to finish that obstacle course, you will be a stand-up woman or man. You can be confident that you possess the necessary skills to approach any combat situation. He pointed this out, and indeed that obstacle course particularly is a difficult obstacle course. So it's not something that civilians can approach. It's something that you have to train for. It's different from the ones that are on obstacle racing events, and it's clearly something that you have to work on before approaching. I remember saying you saying that you have to be physically fit in order to even approach the course. So there were some rules in order to be able to start doing the course, if I remember. How many push-ups did you have to do, or how was it?
As a rule, you have to test the initial physical training test in order to have the right skills and the right, let's say, the necessary resistance force and skills to cope with the obstacles. And as a general rule of thumb, be the push-ups in 2 minutes, 72 sit-ups in 2 minutes, and of course the regular 3,000 meters cross or running, which is roughly 15.30 seconds, 15 minutes and 30 seconds. And this is just the beginning, because the obstacle is following several objectives. One would be the necessary development of the necessary skills on the battlefield, but also the confidence, the individual confidence to cope with the heights, but nevertheless to work with the team. So we have, for example, the tower. The tower has 4 floors, and it's almost impossible not using the edge of the tower to go from one floor to another. But using the team, and you are trusting on your partner to push you or to secure you next floor. That means some special relation are created between individuals and between competitors. So confidence, it's an important goal for this obstacle course.
Exactly,
And
it's an important goal
like,
for obstacle. Please go on.
yes, please. And I was
Please go on.
saying that there are many other situations. We have obstacle course which are replicating the crossing over the river, and there are many courses which are working different muscle groups. For example, the superior body, or in the arms, or the legs. Some obstacle course requires some kind of the burst explosion of the movement, and also put on top of the obstacle course bad weather. You have a perfect combination of exhaustion or exhaustion situation when the soldiers are left without energy the half of the obstacle course. When you reach the half and you see what's your limit, then you have to find your mental sources or energy to finish the course, and this is another objective. So I cannot tell you how complex become an obstacle course. If you just look on different side of the course, you don't realize that there are so many things to be followed or evaluated by instructors. Nevertheless, the safety is the first rule, and we have installed around the obstacle course safety nets, mattresses for like caution to take out any kind of hard fall, and also securing devices. So we do not discard these safety measures, which are paramount for this type of activity.
Exactly. So I did see that there were a lot of safety measures, and as I understood, others will be installed. And we also did talk about the possibility of organizing an event in that region, because the base itself is of great value, not only for military events, but maybe if possible, we could do an event in the following year, so that also civilians see how an Derby Queen track looks like, because it's something different, totally different from what they see at commercial events. We have a bit of a problem with the connection, as I see, so we have to keep it a bit short, because it could be that it's going to drop any second now. From my point of view, I'm going to thank you for joining today, and I'm really glad that you managed to connect, because I know that you were away and landed quite by the way, when did you land? When did you get back in the country?
Just 10 minutes ago, I landed in
Okay.
Sibiu airport, coming from UK.
Okay, so
also a military activity, yes.
Okay, so thank you a lot for connecting as soon as you came in, because at one moment I thought that we will not be able to have you on the broadcast. So speak to you.
So Raul, let
please.
me just conclude from my side. I don't see any problems in putting together the both sides for the future activities. Of course, it will be the Land Forces Academy commander decision for this type of activity, since it's not really my let's say installation over there, but I don't see to allow the public to come, since it's a training area. It's nothing special there. But I could see some immediate benefits from this type of activity, both for civilians and both for militaries, which are very interested in developing this concept.
Exactly. This is the headline that we also used when we announced you the connection between obstacle sports and military training, because there is a clear connection between the two. Obstacle sports have started from military training, so and they are very old. There is a tradition in obstacle sports, and clearly the two disciplines are able to complete each other, and there is a lot of gain from working together. Okay, thank you for joining again, and we are going to move now on to our next guest.
Thank you very much, and good night. And I will watch the following guest.
Of course. Thank you. Have a nice evening. Okay, so with this we conclude our English part of the broadcast. We are now going to switch to the Romanian segment of the broadcast, and we will have our next guest, who is the sports director of the Romanian Obstacle Sports Federation, because we are now a federation starting September 2021, and I'm going to thank everyone from the international community for being with us and watching the subjects that we touched. I hope that they were interesting, and that they had some information that they walked away from this, with which they walked away from this conference. So, switching to Romanian. Bună, Diana!
Bună seara! Bună seara tuturor!
Este Diana Harțan. Diana este conectată din Italia și este, nu de foarte mult timp, directorul nostru sportiv, directorul Federației Române de Sporturi cu Obstacole. Îmi pare foarte bine că am reușit să ne conectăm. Nu știu dacă eu am o problemă cu internetul sau invitații, dar văd că se vede destul de slab imaginea. S-ar putea să că sunt unii cu noi și țin minte, chiar la începutul broadcastului mi-a și picat internetul. Așa că să sperăm că o să avem noroc. Da, să sperăm că o să avem noroc și că nu va fi cazul să se mai întâmple încă o dată. Îmi pare bine că reușim să avem momentul acesta, pentru că multă lume mi-a pus întrebări în legătură cu tine, m-au întrebat cum am reușit să lucrăm împreună. Și acesta este un moment perfect să îți facem o scurtă introducere comunității din România și să le spunem câteva despre tine, respectiv din ce zonă a sportului vii tu, pentru că experiența ta în sport nu se limitează la partea de curse cu obstacole, și atunci eu mă gândeam să le povestim un pic celor care sunt alături de noi astăzi câteva aspecte prin care ei să te cunoască. Îți voi pune niște întrebări, să le luăm așa treptat. De exemplu, ai putea să ne spui cam din ce sport vii și respectiv la ce vârstă ai început tu sportul, pentru că știu că ai făcut asta de foarte tânără.
Da, mulțumesc pentru introducere și eu fac acest sport, gimnastică artistică, de când am 3 ani. Am început în orașul meu mic, Roman, după care m-am apasionat foarte mult văzând la televizor pe Nadia Comăneci și tot am bătut-o pe mama la cap. Hai, du-mă să fac gimnastică artistică. Din momentul ăla a fost dragoste la prima vedere. La 6 ani mama mă conduce la Nadia Comăneci, la liceul Nadia Comăneci. Fac un concurs și acolo mă iau repede câștig imediat concursul ăsta, mă pun la niște probe și merg mai departe. Rămân acolo până în 2006, și cam asta a fost perioada mea de gimnastică artistică la Unești. Nu știu dacă tu mă auzi, pentru că eu nu te mai
Da.
văd.
Da, suntem ok.
Perfect.
Suntem pe un split screen acum. Ocazional, colegii din regie te vor mai pune să fii doar tu pe ecran. Se aude fără niciun fel de problemă. Respectiv,
te aud nu te aud foarte bine.
Ok.
Am avut
Oare
și
acum?
înainte un pic de probleme cu conexiunea.
Am înțeles. Păi haide să încercăm
deci
să scoatem maxim din ce avem.
Exact. Deci eu vin din gimnastică artistică, am făcut pe 13 ani gimnastică artistică la Unești, unde am devenit campioană națională în 2006, după care am avut o accidentare destul de ciudată, să zicem așa, și am decis să mă las și să vin în Italia alături de părinții mei. După care am decis, să zicem așa, să fac o pauză cam destul de lungă, pentru că nu mai aveam absolut deloc chef să fac sport, după atâția ani de pregătire și făcând 8 ore de antrenamente pe zi, deci am mâncat antrenamentele în fiecare zi pe pâine, practic, nu cu Nutella, cu siguranță, da, cu antrenamente de luni până sâmbătă, 8 ore și duminica jumătate, după care cealaltă jumătate din zi gume de mestecat ca să nu ne îngrășăm, să punem și pe asta.
Hai de mine, da.
Da, era clasic acolo. Duminica după amiază noi o petreceam cu gumele de mestecat și câteodată poate semințe, dar majoritatea timpului cu gume de mestecat. În fine,
puțin dintre noi, scuză-mă că ne întrerup, puțin dintre noi știu ce înseamnă sportul de performanță, probabil, și câte sacrificii include.
Wow! Foarte multe sacrificii. De exemplu, dacă începi un sport de mic, sunt foarte multe sacrificii, mai ales dacă nu poți fi alături de părinții tăi, exact așa cum am fost eu. Adică eu am fost departe, am decis să-mi aduc aminte, exact la 3 ani, văzând o penadă cu mâneci, am spus nu, eu vreau să merg să fac gimnastică. Și atunci mama s-a uitat așa la mine și cum vrei să faci gimnastică? Dar e departe de casă. Zic, nu, pe mine nu mă interesează, eu vreau să mă duci cât mai departe, eu vreau să fac gimnastică. Sacrificii sunt foarte multe, dar când vrei ceva cu adevărat, nu este nicio problemă. Deci, chiar și atunci când nu poți să-ți vezi părinții decât o dată, poate la o lună. Noi aveam decât posibilitatea să vedem părinții o dată la o lună și 3 ore, deci sacrificii se fac foarte multe, poate Crăciunul nu îl facem împreună, îl facem în cantonamente cu colegele noastre. Sunt foarte multe sacrificii, dar dacă vrei cu adevărat se pot obține. Poți face orice, nimic nu e exclus.
Într-adevăr, îmi spun colegii din regie să amintim că pentru această ultimă parte vom încerca să punem traduceri în engleză, așa că doar o secundă să-mi permiți, te rog. My colleague from backstage are announcing that we will try to provide subtitles for this last section of the broadcast so that international speakers can enjoy as well the experiences of Diana in the professional sport, the world of professional sports. Okay. Să trecem înapoi în limba română. Scuză-mă că te-am întrerupt. Este clar o provocare sportul profesionist și putem să facem legătura din nou foarte scurt legat de acel aspect de safe sports, respectiv faptul că atunci când dădeai exemplu, de acolo voi face momentan legătura, exemplul cu guma aceea de mestecat. Puțin dintre noi știm ce se întâmplă acolo. Voi știți foarte bine și probabil că păstrați pentru voi ce se întâmplă acolo și acest lucru sperăm noi să putem să-l schimbăm ca și federație tânără, să nu se ajungă la situații de genul ăsta. Într-adevăr, performanță în acest sacrificiu și nu se poate câteodată prin te rog frumos. Sunt convins. Mă refer din punct de vedere al antrenorului, pentru că de foarte multe ori nu va fi băgat în seamă.
Exact. Eu cred că trebuie, ca să fii un antrenor profesor, trebuie să ai un anumit caracter, cu siguranță nu cu violență, dar oricum trebuie să ai un caracter decis, să știi ce trebuie să faci. Perioada mea în gimnastică, și cred că a fost și ultima, un pic mai ciudată, să dau numele ăsta pentru că nu vreau să folosesc alte cuvinte, și mă bucur foarte mult că s-au schimbat foarte multe lucruri în România. Eu am ajuns în Italia, am încercat să antrenez fetele în gimnastică artistică la Pavia, în prima perioadă în care am ajuns aici, efectiv nu puteam. Deci aveau total un alt fel de comportament, de caracter, de disciplină, total diferit de al nostru, ceea ce pe mine m-a lăsat un pic fără cuvinte și nu eram obișnuită. Nu am reușit, efectiv. Am zis, gata, pentru mine nu pot, nu am fost obișnuită așa, dar nu îmi dădusem seama că lucrul cel bun era aici, de fapt, că copilul trebuie să facă ceea ce vrea, nu, adică să o facă cu plăcere, nu pentru că este obligat într-un fel. În România, să zicem așa, a fost un pic mai strict din punctul ăsta de vedere.
Este clar greu să găsești granița între a lua părerea copilului în calcul, pentru că eu nu sunt de acord cu expresia aceea că părerea copilului, adică expresia, oarecum faptul că unii spun că părerea copiilor nu contează chiar așa de mult, că ei sunt copii și nu sunt adulți. Ba, contează și părerea unui copil, dacă copilul poate să o susțină, și sunt unii copii care poate și la 5 ani pot să susțină o părere mai bine decât mulți adulți, atunci va trebui să o iei în calcul dacă el poate să justifice. Eu sunt de părerea asta. Și trebuie să punem, e greu să găsești balanța între a lua în calcul părerea lui și totodată a reuși să te impui ca și antrenor, pentru că este dificil. Și atunci aici se vede cât de bine se leagă toate subiectele pe care le-am discutat astăzi: safeguarding, probleme în sport, programe de antrenoriat, vin obstacolele. Deci lucrurile se vor lega, din câte credem noi, într-un fel foarte, foarte bun, și legat de posibilele probleme care pot să apară, tot noi suntem soluția, pentru că noi, dacă îi pregătim pe copiii ăștia să știe cum să răspundă situațiilor de care vor da, nu va mai fi niciun fel de problemă. Nu vor mai fi în situația în care ai fost tu, poate, sau alții care au făcut sport de performanță. Vom trece acum de la gimnastică înspre sportul cu obstacole, că de fapt noi de-aia vorbim astăzi. Era de făcut o scurtă introducere pe tema sportului din care vii înspre noi. Respectiv, cum ai făcut trecerea la cursele cu obstacole? Spune-ne un pic despre asta.
Am făcut trecerea asta după o lungă perioadă de stop. Nu făcusem sport, cred că 5 ani de zile, între care un prieten îmi povestește despre sportul ăsta. Eu nu știam absolut nimic și m-a convins să fac un concurs la Firenze. Mă înscriu la concursul ăsta. A fost și acolo dragoste la prima vedere. A fost un moment decisiv din viața mea, pentru că eu, fiind o fostă atletă, mi-am regăsit din nou energia și viața, să continui să fac ceva din ceea ce privește viața mea de atletă. Acolo m-am îndrăgostit din punctul de vedere, pentru că pentru mine întotdeauna viața a fost sau obstacolele au fost ca viața și viceversa. Mi-a plăcut să fac, cum să spun, este o metaforă, nu? Că nu poți să te oprești în fața obstacolului, trebuie să treci peste, nu? Și mi-a plăcut foarte mult că cursele cu obstacole sunt exact ceea ce este viața de zi cu zi. De atunci nu m-am lăsat, adică am continuat să fac concursurile astea de prima dată de când am început la Firenze, și m-am apasionat tot mai mult, după care am devenit antrenor de sporturile acestea.
Dar țin minte că erai parte din Federația Italiană la un moment dat și ai avut rezultate foarte bune în cadrul campionatului italian, pentru că așa am ajuns și noi să aflăm de tine. Legătura a fost făcută cu rezultatele tale din campionatul Italiei. Ne poți spune un picuț cam ce rezultate ai obținut în campionatul Italiei?
Da, am făcut foarte multe concursuri și în afară, dar m-am focalizat cel mai mult pe campionatul național italian și am devenit campioană națională în 2017, după care am mers un pic mai departe, am zis vreau să probez să fac și un concurs european, după care și acolo am ajuns pe locul 3.
Da, dar țin minte că în 2017 în Olanda ai intrat pe 3, exact. Deci se vede foarte mult în momentul în care un sportiv profesionist dintr-un domeniu, dintr-un sport conex sau un sportiv cu o experiență oricum într-un sport cu tradiție, care este în legătură cu sporturile cu obstacole, și aici în principiu vorbim despre alpinism, pentru că este vorba de priză, de gimnastică, de alergare montană, respectiv atletism. Acestea sunt niște sporturi care, dacă un sportiv le stăpânește, are șanse foarte mari să performeze bine în sporturile cu obstacole. Se vede că se fac legăturile și acest lucru l-am văzut și noi luna aceasta în Italia, în proba pe care am avut-o, respectiv deplasarea la Inferno Run. Văd că ai și tricou cu Inferno, dacă bine. Da, văd că ai un tricou. Așa, da, exact. Nouă ni s-a părut o cursă foarte interesantă. Sportivii au zis clar că traseul a fost unul tare și cursa a fost organizată într-un mod bun. Și exemplul pe care vreau să îl dau era cel al lui Viorel Pălici, care vine din alergare montană și care nu a pus niciodată mâna pe obstacolele din acest concurs. Și cu toate acestea l-am avut pe locul 2, care este un rezultat extraordinar. Odată.
Da, vreau să punctez un lucru și da, între timp obstacolele s-au schimbat foarte mult în anii aceștia, nu? Când făceam eu concursuri, erau mult mai lungi, mult mai dificile. Acum s-au făcut un pic mai tehnice, dar ca să poată să facă toată lumea. Adică nu este un concurs doar pentru atleți, adică și pentru persoane normale care vor să înceapă să facă sportul ăsta nou. Adică este pentru toată lumea, nu există o vârstă la care poți începe să faci sportul acesta. Da. Concursul de la Firenze a fost foarte bine făcut, obstacolele au fost pe măsură, tehnice. A mers foarte bine, ceea ce eu sunt foarte bucuroasă că am reușit să facem experiența aceasta împreună, să vadă și atleții noștri care este nivelul de competiție și în afară. Și foarte frumos cum a făcut Viorel. Adică a reușit să ajungă...
Da, Viorel a avut un rezultat extraordinar pentru că este un atlet de excepție și ceilalți sportivi care au fost acolo. Deci nu putem să nu-i menționăm și pe ei, pentru că și ceilalți au avut rezultate bune. Alex Macre a mers foarte bine și poate că până la urmă cel mai mare câștig din toată experiența asta a fost reușita de a lega un grup și de a forma senzația de echipă funcțională din punctul meu de vedere. Eu aici văd cel mai mare plus pe care l-am câștigat în momentul Italia, octombrie, Firenze. Dacă ești de acord.
Cu siguranță. Având în vedere că era și prima dată când ne vedeam toți împreună, pentru mine a fost într-adevăr un succes. Chiar am reușit să facem totul extraordinar, ceea ce nu mă așteptam. Adică am reușit să stăm exact ca un team, ca niște persoane care se cunosc de atâta timp, care aveau același proiect, care lucrau pe același proiect, care voiau același lucru și împreună am reușit și la nivel uman, că eu zic mereu, nu este important decât să fii un bun atlet. Trebuie să fii și altceva ca să fii un bun atlet sau sportiv. Și am reușit foarte bine să legăm și cu toți și nu numai o prietenie frumoasă.
Da. Ce zici de cursa care urmează acum în România? Urmează Spartan Race Cheile Grădiștei la începutul lunii noiembrie, un eveniment la care mergem sau nu mergem? Ce facem?
Mergem.
Eu zic că mergem,
pe
așa?
toți.
Da, eu zic că mergem. E un eveniment pe care îl recomandăm să nu-l rateze nimeni.
Absolut.
Cei de la Spartan se străduiesc să scoată maxim din ce se poate și așa am înțeles că toate lucrurile sunt în clar și se va ține. Așa că să încercăm să bifăm această ultimă cursă din 2021 în România, din câte știm noi. Să vorbim foarte scurt legat de ce vom încerca noi să facem legat de campionatele europene, respectiv ce înseamnă calificare și cum poate fi cineva selectat în cadrul echipei care va pleca la europenele din Italia, respectiv la mondiale. Aici, cum vezi tu posibilitățile unei persoane care vrea să aibă performanțe în acest sport, respectiv, cum poate să lucreze el cu tine? Cum poate să ajungă să lucreze cu tine?
Cu siguranță cluburile care vor să participe la aceste sporturi trebuie neapărat afiliate, așa poate să reprezinte România în afară și se pot califica pentru mondiale și pentru europene.
Așa, și în principiu ar trebui să... Da, într-adevăr, aceasta va fi și calea prin care vom lucra cu cei din România, din inițiativele care deja sunt în zona sporturilor cu obstacole sau din cadrul cluburilor care ne-au contactat adică de pe lângă zona expresă a sporturilor cu obstacole și vor avea atleți care vor putea emite pretenții, că sunt câteva, unii dintre sportivii din alergarea montană au șanse foarte mari să scoată rezultate bune în sportul acesta. Da, deci se discută afiliere, după care, clar, sportivii care au apartenență de un club afiliat pot să fie clar în echipa care iese către campionatele europene. Legat de programele de pregătire, nu mai apucăm să vorbim, pentru că aș vrea să spun și eu câteva cuvinte legate de ce pregătim pentru anul viitor, respectiv câteva cuvinte de campionat, să mai răspund și la vreo 2-3 întrebări, pentru că au fost câteva și mai avem doar 5-6 minute din broadcastul de astăzi. Așa că, Diana, îți mulțumesc foarte mult că te-ai conectat.
Mulțumesc.
Rămâne să ne auzim, că noi vorbim des, așa că...
Des, exact.
Da, să punem planul la bătaie. Da, pentru
ceea ce spun mereu. Acțiunile contează mereu. Mulțumesc frumos pentru invitație și o seară frumoasă.
Mulțumesc. Bun, aici închidem evenimentul nostru imediat, dar urmează să răspundem la câteva întrebări. Ninja Sport România ne întreabă cum sunt certificate obstacolele. Obstacolele sunt certificate de un inginer de siguranță, respectiv fiecare obstacol în parte are un dosar de certificare de aproximativ 15 pagini, în care este calculată inclusiv rezistența la atac a obstacolului, unghi de atac, absolut tot ce ar putea să fie o problemă în cadrul din punct de vedere a siguranței la un obstacol. Vine în plus siguranța oferită de ISO 9001, care este un standard de siguranță. Într-adevăr, acum poate unii dintre noi vom spune că ISO 9001 este un standard de calitate, management al calității aplicat la nivel general și că poate că nu reflectă în 100% calitatea unui obiect, dar vă asigur că eu am văzut obstacolele acestea, am văzut cum sunt construite și sunt ceea ce trebuie. Sunt o variantă foarte bună pentru ce vom încerca să facem noi în România. În plus, dacă un alt furnizor are obstacole certificate, clar suntem dispuși să discutăm și cu ei, atâta timp cât vor prezenta certificatele de asigurare a calității și de construcție și toate cele necesare făcute de un inginer de siguranță, ca să nu cumva să avem probleme, pentru că prevenția, după cum punctam și cu doamna Cristina Vlădescu, este cheia ca să scăpăm de probleme. Să trec mai departe. Vlado D ne întreabă în engleză, is the Cluj-NATO obstacle? Așa, deci ne întreabă dacă baza NATO din Cluj este deschisă pentru teste, pentru probe, pentru public. Vom răspunde în engleză, nu știu dacă mai este logat sau nu. So the NATO training obstacle training course is not in Cluj, it's in Sibiu. It's a different city, and it's not open for the public. It will be open for an event like we were talking about probably next year. So please keep an eye on us on our social media page, and you will get the details related to the launch of an event, the organization of an event there. Okay. Deci nu este în Cluj baza, este în Sibiu. Nu putem să mergem pe ea, să intrăm ca și într-un parc, pentru că totuși, chiar dacă nu este într-o zonă de maximă siguranță din punct de vedere militar, este păzită și nu este ceva public. Bun, eu zic că am avut un eveniment reușit. Sper că informațiile pe care le-am livrat astăzi au fost ceea ce sperați. Stați o secundă, era să uit. Haideți să zicem încă 2-3 cuvinte, că văd că mai avem 3 minute legat de campionat 2022 și proiect pilot cu Ungaria, pentru că sunt foarte importante. Respectiv, proiect pilot cu Ungaria, ce înseamnă? Era scris în program. Înseamnă că toți sportivii din cluburile din România care vor fi afiliate și vor fi în legătură cu noi, vor putea, ca și premieră, participa într-un campionat unit între România și Ungaria. Deci vor fi niște etape disponibile ca acest sport să poată să crească. Noi suntem foarte bucuroși că există Spartan Race și că putem să ne bucurăm de cursele Spartan în România, dar din păcate 2 curse pe an nu sunt destule. Mai sunt și alte curse care încercă să-și facă loc în România în momentul de față. Noi sperăm ca acest sport să crească și aceste curse să crească și ele la rândul lor, respectiv să vedem obstacole de calitate bună în ele. Dar până atunci apare această oportunitate prin care noi, prin parteneriatul semnat cu Federația Maghiară, vom avea mai multe etape deschise pentru sportivii din România începând din 2022. Un prim pas pe care îl vom face va fi în aprilie în Ungaria, când se organizează un eveniment de pregătire. De fapt, va fi o cursă care se va organiza chiar înainte de campionatele europene, la care vom ieși ca și echipă națională și încurajăm asociațiile sau cluburile să ne ceară detalii legate de afiliere. Important este de asemenea de scos în evidență că o organizație sportivă se poate afilia și dacă nu este club sportiv cu certificat de identitate sportivă în momentul de față, dar va demonstra că lucrează înspre obținerea unuia. Respectiv, poate să fie doar asociație sportivă. Acestea fiind spuse, pentru că văd că am atins 7:30, clar, cei interesați de detalii legate de campionatul din 2022 vor putea să ne contacteze prin e-mail sau pe conturile de social media și răspundem cu drag. Obiectivul nostru nu este să închidem alte curse sau să le sufocăm, după cum ați văzut. Asta este clar, pentru că l-am adus pe Russ Platt din state, care a vorbit de o platformă accesibilă în mod gratuit tuturor curselor, fără a avea nicio fel de obligație de a se afilia nouă. Deci noi vrem ca toate cursele din România care vor să dezvolte acest sport, la nivelul la care pot ele, să crească, în așa fel încât publicul să prindă gustul sportului și, desigur, într-un final, noi să putem să ajungem să avem mai mulți sportivi cu care să putem să mergem să reprezentăm țara împreună. Că împreună clar avem o șansă mai mare decât singuri. Vă mulțumesc foarte mult pentru timpul noastră și mă bucur că am reușit să facem această conferință, chiar dacă a trebuit să o facem în mod online. O seară bună să aveți. Mulțumesc frumos, la revedere!